done it before as the Rangers win in the bottom of the ninth by a score of 4-2 and take the game over the American League East leading Boston Red Sox. Tonight, it's live from Arlington Stadium, Home Sports Entertainment, presenting more Texas Ranger American League Baseball. The Rangers again play host to Wade Boggs, Jim Rice, and the Boston Red Sox. And a very pleasant good evening, everyone. Greg Lucas here in tonight, along with Norm Hitzges. Looking forward to Game 2 of this series between the Red Sox, who lead the American League East, and the Rangers, who are just 3 games behind the California Angels in the West. Hopefully a preview of the playoffs to come in a few weeks.
Boy, you know, you got to wonder about the Rangers. It just appears that this club can't do anything wrong. You know, you wonder if this might be the Lord's team. You get a feeling that the Lord, maybe on a Monday night national television, along about 9 o'clock, looked down and said, "Bobby, tonight's Gino Petrali night."
And he is one of the last guys you'd think about hitting a home run, even himself.
Oh, my. Well, he hit 255 times in his career and had 1 homer. Gino didn't exactly go up there thinking about a home run last night.
No, I was going up there looking for a good pitch to hit, and got a good fastball, and I hit it well, and I really didn't think it was going out at first, but I was happy it did.
When it went out, the first thing that went through your mind?
Well, I knew that we had tied the ball game, and I knew we had a chance to come back and win it. This year we've been playing tough in the later innings, and so I felt that we were going to come back and win that ball game.
What kind of reception did you get when you went back to the dugout?
Well, I got quite a reception. The whole club was probably as surprised as I was, and everybody was kind of happy, and I'm glad that you know, I got some harassment from most of the guys about hitting a home run, you know, so they gave me a good reception.
The pitching matchups tonight, a couple of very animated fellas on the mound, Norm.
A couple of wild and crazy guys. These may be the 2 most animated people. All the storylines in this game. Oil Can Boyd facing Don Slaughton for the first time since he hit him in the face with a fastball. What a game we got coming.
It's all coming up, and we're going to take a look at the lineups, get the game underway after we review some of the great plays of the season here on HSE. Back we are at Arlington Stadium, taking a look at the Boston Red Sox lineup tonight. First of all, batting first and playing third base, the American League leading hitter Wade Boggs. Marty Barrett is at second base. Hitting third is first baseman Bill Buckner. The cleanup man is left fielder Jim Rice. Don Baylor is the designated hitter, followed by right fielder Dwight Evans, center fielder Tony Armas, catcher Rich Gedman, and shortstop Spike Owen. Defensively for the Rangers, a couple of minor changes. Wilkerson in at shortstop in place of Fletcher, who has the night off. Buechele at third, Hara at second, O'Brien at first. It is Sierra, McDowell, and Ward in the outfield. The batteries, Slaught catching, and Mike Loynd, the rookie, is on the mound.
22-year-old Mike Loynd has never faced the Boston Red Sox, but then there are a lot of teams Mike Loynd has never faced. This is only his 7th start in the big leagues. He is 2-0, an earned run average of 4.68. He has walked 13 and struck out 22, and that's in only 32 innings of pitching. He's allowed only 3 home runs. I tell you what's impressive about Mike Loynd. Oh, the record's nice, and the strikeout ratio's nice. The ERA is sort of middle-ish, but he gives you a consistent outing. In his 6 starts, in 5 of them, he's gone at least 5 innings, and never has he allowed more than 4 earned runs in a start. In fact, only once has he allowed more than 3 earned runs in a start. And Greg, with as much as this Ranger pitching staff was staggering for the last month, maybe the steadiest guy on this staff for the last month was Mike Loynd.
It's also ironic that the only game that the club has lost that he started, he left leading 7-2, so he's done his job, that's for sure.
Yeah, they're 5-1 in Mike Loynd's 6 major league starts.
Let's take a look at the umpiring crew for tonight's game. Behind the plate will be Vic Voltaggio. Down at first base, Larry Young. Out at second is Dave Phillips, and Larry McCoy, the veteran, is over at third.
Tell you what, this is not a good time of night for the hitters. These twilight games are tough. We saw last night when Clemens and Witt lit it up for the first 3 innings until darkness starts to descend a little bit here. This is tough on the hitters.
Loynd, of course, with the big breaking ball. Oil Can Boyd throws all the pitches, but he has a little more power in his repertoire. And there you see Mike, who, of course, won 20 games already this year. In fact, he is 22-3 if you count his college record. He won 20 games in college at Florida State, and in fact struck out 223 in just 164 2/3 innings. He's quite a pitcher, but he's facing quite a hitter. Wade Boggs, 345, 7 homers, 56 RBIs. Last night was hitless and is hitting just 250 against the Rangers this year, but for his career average against the Rangers is just like it is against everyone else, up around 350. And he'll take a strike. Wade Boggs, he'll take a lot of pitches, an extremely good 0-2 hitter. 1-1. He's on top of the batting leaders in the American League. Of course, he's been there most of the year. He's dropped off considerably, though, to 345. That's just shows you how high he was. 2 balls and a strike. Boggs at 345. Kirby Puckett, who has reduced his power somewhat, but the average keeps up there. Then Mattingly, too close to call. Even Rice, who we'll see, is in there. That'll be fouled left side. Can Ward get to it? No, it's just out of his grasp.
One more thing to consider about the game tonight is left field. In these 6 and 6:30 starts, that is an absolute hellhole to play out there. And especially tough for the Boston left fielder, since Ward at least has a little bit of experience playing under conditions like this.
Remember the doubleheader the last time I was up here working a game with you, Norm. The doubleheader, of course, you had this situation in the second game. We had some misplays in left field.
Remember Danny Tartable, the Seattle left fielder? One line drive nearly killed a poor youngster.
2 balls and 2 strikes. Since then, though, he's been killing a lot of pitches. He's been hitting very well for Seattle. There's the Boggs bouncer to short. Wilkerson. 1 away.
Greg, I'll just make you a small wager on the game, just for fun, okay?
All right.
I'll wager that after 3 innings of this game, there has been no more than 1 run scored because of the light conditions. It is so tough to hit in the light conditions. And see, from this view of the camera, you don't get the difficulty of the hitter. The hitter's difficulty is that bright background behind him and the pitcher in the shadows.
Tough on the fielders. As a matter of fact, Wilkerson at short is holding his hand. He was there just before over the sun, getting set for the pitch as Loynd goes to second baseman Marty Barrett. Takes it for a ball. Barrett hitting .294, 3 homers and 42 RBIs. There you see, it's mostly to center, to left, with the shortstop is right in the middle of it, too.
We'll bring this picture back after the next pitch if we could, and show you one more thing.
Ball dips away for 2 balls and no strikes.
Notice how even our cameras burn out. The top of your screen's a little burned out. Well, that brightness factor, it really hinders the hitter's attempts to pick up the rotation on the ball to try to tell what kind of pitch is being thrown.
Barrett takes a high strike for 2 balls and a strike. Barrett has been hitting very well. He's hit in 8 of his last 9 games, a .455 clip over that period. In fact, he's been hitting .382 over the last 14. One thing I think a lot of people don't realize about Barrett, he has good power. Not home run power, but he is among the league leaders in doubles. He has 34. So he'll get you the extra base hit. 2 balls and a strike, 1 out. We're in the top of the first, no score.
You know, Greg, Barrett's one of those guys that you have to be a Red Sox fan to appreciate. 34 doubles, like you said, 42 RBIs, which is really good for a guy that gives himself up a lot, moves hitters a lot. He's got 12 sacrifices and 46 walks and only 25 strikeouts. That's a good player.
He's just a solid ball player. Doesn't have great speed, great range, great defense, but he's on base again. Obviously, the first walk of the ball game given up by Loynd, who had walked 13 and struck out 22 in his 32 2/3 innings coming into this one. He'll be facing Bill Buckner, who is another solid contact hitter. The average this year for Buck is way below his lifetime in the 290s, but good RBI production with 78. last night had a good game.
If we have the chance during this at bat, we'll try to show you a shot of Bill Buckner's shoes. There's a real oddity about Buckner's shoes.
Barrett is at first. He's being held by O'Brien. This is not, to say the least, a running baseball team. The Red Sox, certainly among the leading teams in baseball, are the slowest. They also do not really have the bashing power that you associate with the Red Sox. They've actually hit more home runs on the road than they have in Fenway Park this year. 1 ball and no strikes to Buckner.
Bill Buckner has a bad left ankle. Notice he's wearing a spike on the left foot and a rubber sole shoe on the right foot. He wears the spiked shoe on the left foot because he needs support for the injured ankle.
And of course, that's the one that's getting all the pressure when he's at the plate. That back leg. That's
exactly
the foot that's holding steady. He was a very quick baseball player. He had a lot of speed before he was injured, when he was with the Dodgers, but yet he still runs. He just gets thrown out a lot when he tries to steal. Last year he led the club in stolen bases, but also was thrown out more times than he was successful.
By the way, your note about the Red Sox stealing bases, they're 4th in the American League.
Yeah, nobody steals much.
They as a team are 4th to Ricky Henderson, John Cangelosi, and Gary Pettis.
And they've been thrown out more than they've made it, too. They just don't do it much. That's inside. 2 balls and no strikes.
Can you imagine having 3 players that have stolen more than your team? Wow.
Well, John McNamara manages with what he's got, and he doesn't have great speed. And you've got to give him a lot of credit, because even though they've had some ups and downs after getting the big lead early in the season, you look at the standings, they're still 6 games in front. And with the pitching they do have, which is 3rd in the league in ERA, they may be able to hang in there. That's a strike. 2 balls and 1 strike. Of course, it doesn't hurt to have a guy like Clemens, who may have not been on a winning team last night, but if you can throw him out every 4th or 5th day, you got a doggone good chance of getting a victory, and that can keep you in first place. Infield, of course, playing for the double play here with Buckner. As we say, he doesn't run that well anymore. Good contact hitter. That's away. 3 balls and a strike. Loynd a little upset with himself.
You know, as you see the on-deck hitter for Boston, Jim Rice, everybody talks about how much better the Boston pitching is, but Greg, their earned run average is less than 1/10 of a run per game better than last year.
Well, the league in general has higher earned run averages this year. It's just, relatively speaking, they're better because they're 3rd, but they're not really 3.97, I think it is, and that's not very good.
Yeah, last year was 4.06, but you're right. Everybody in general is scoring more runs, so for them to lower their earned run average against that trend really is much better pitching.
There goes Barrett, bouncing ball on the hit and run, backhand past Hara. Barrett will go into 3rd base as Otomi McDowell retrieves the ball on the hit and run, and the Red Sox have a base hit with Buckner going up the middle. Runners at 1st and 3rd now with 1 out. That was a tough play, as you'll see. It was a tough play for Hara.
Yeah, it ate him up a little bit here. He couldn't have charged the ball and got it on the big hop, and if he'd charged it, he'd have gotten eaten up by an in-between hop, and nothing quite worked on that one.
That was one of those where you say, okay, that play can be made, but at the same token, you don't quibble with the fact that it's a base hit.
Now see, Toby's hoping for the high hop, and the ball actually jumped a little bit back toward him.
His only play, had he been able to make it, would have been to get Buckner at 1st, as Barrett was off with the pitch. Now runners at 1st and 3rd. Here's Jim Rice. Not hitting with as much power this year, but the average is way up, and the RBIs are just about where you might expect them. Swings through it for a strike. He's really altered his game this year, hasn't he, Norm? He's really reduced his swing. I know some of the folks in Boston are critical of him for that, but he was not happy because 2 years in a row he did not hit 300.
Yeah, and he hit into loads of ground ball double plays. And
Wow.
He's not doing that much anymore.
No, but the Rangers would certainly like one here. See, this is not an all-out rip. He just kept his eye on the ball and tried to come through with a good, almost like a golf swing.
And the Rangers, who have to hold the runner at 1st, are leaving a big hole between 1st and 2nd, and that's where Rice has gone a lot this year.
Buckner is kept awake by pitcher Mike Loynd. We're in the top of the 1st. There's that hitting hole to the right side. Barrett's down at third, 1 out. That's upstairs.
Loin thought he had that pitch, just barely missed.
He got a pitch called that was not far from that position on Barrett, but the breaking ball stayed up just a little and maybe a little outside.
Tough pitch.
1-2 to Rice. That one just slides away from the plate.
Loin trying to get the breaking ball over the outside corner. Has missed twice, and Rice now even with him.
2 balls and 2 strikes. Fly ball foul out of play, right side. Count holds. 2 balls and 2 strikes.
Jim Rice is averaging, this is for his career, he's averaging more than 300 average every year, 30 homers and 100 RBIs. He's the only active major league player with those averages of 300, 30 homers and 30 RBIs, and there are only 5 men in the history of baseball who have ever averaged for their career 300 batting average, 30 homers, and 100 RBIs. We'll tell you the 5 after this pitch.
2-2. Bouncing ball up the middle, base hit as the Red Sox score the first run of the ball game. Rice laces the single to center. Buckner holds at second. Rice with his 80th RBI. Runners now at first and second. Barrett scoring. Still 1 out. It'll be Don Baylor.
The 5 players who have averaged 300, 30 homers, and 100 RBIs in their career: Babe Ruth, Lou Gehrig, Hank Aaron, Ted Williams, and Jimmy Fox. That's 5 pretty fair players.
They could play on most all-star teams. That's for sure. Bobby Valentine with a quick trip to the mound to talk to his pitcher, Mike Loin, telling him not to worry. It's early. And he was facing a pretty tough hitter with that single up the middle, and that was again placed well. If he pulls it just to the left or slaps it to the right just a little bit, that's a double play. It wasn't hit that hard. Baylor has been in a slump, really, for the last several weeks, but yet he is tied for second in the American League in game-winning RBIs. Fouls it away. Hitting only .231, but he has 24 homers. That leads the Red Sox, and his 75 RBIs are right up there. This club has Buckner with 78, Rice now with 80, Baylor with 75, and Evans with 80. That's a pretty good RBI middle portion of the lineup. Rangers still looking for 2. Foul ball. Slot goes through with the play, but it was called quickly by Vic Voltaggio.
Don Baylor just loves to hit in this park. Even when it wasn't a good hitter's park, he still loved to hit in this park.
Well, he's hit 26 home runs against the Rangers, and 17 of them have been here. That's the most of anybody on this Red Sox club.
In fact, only Reggie Jackson has hit more homers against the Texas Rangers in the history of this franchise. Jackson, of course, he's long gone. He's at 44.
No balls and 2 strikes. We've got 1 out, 1 run in. We're in the top of the first. The Red Sox have runners at first and second. Don Baylor, the hitter. Mike Loin with the pitch. That hit him on the hand. Apparently nothing strange there. Baylor is the most frequently hit player in baseball, but that does not make neither pitcher nor manager happy. As Valentine says, come on, there was no effort to even sort of get out of the way of that. In fact, it was pretty close to being over the plate for a strike.
That is Baylor's 28th time this year being hit by a pitch. He doesn't have the all-time record yet. Ron Hunt has that, but he's closing in on it for a career.
Let's put it this way. He is the best hitter among those people that have been hit by pitches a lot.
It's great there was a beanball war earlier this season.
Uh-oh. Valentine had... Wait a minute. What are we doing? They're sending him back?
They're calling him back?
He has been... Has he been overruled?
Don Slaught appealed.
Now John McNamara is coming out. There you see a replay. And here you see McNamara. So far, Baylor is still down at first base.
Well, the guy on the scoreboard hasn't given up. He's still got Don Baylor's picture out there, and he's still got the count 0-2.
He may call it a foul ball. That may have been what the argument was. I didn't see the replay when we put it up on the screen. It may have been that he decided to hit the bat.
I don't know if it hit anything from our replay.
Okay, let's see again. I think it didn't look like it hit anything there either. It looked like it was past his arm. But so far he is still at first.
What's John looking for? Some shaved arm hairs down there? There they are. There's 3 of them right there. Knocked him right off, Vic. See, what McNamara can't figure out is how the umpire can call him hit by the pitch, send him to first base, and then have somebody talk him out of it, basically.
Here he comes. He's coming back to hit. Well, of course, without having a microphone on the people involved, I have to say, bottom line is, whatever is right. You know, that old stuff in baseball that once you make the call, you don't change it. I never have gone for that. Now Baylor's saying, see, I'm injured.
Baylor says he was hit on the arm. Now, if he was hit at all, he was grazed on the forearm right where he's pointing to it. Now they're saying he was in the batter's box. Something about the batter's box and an effort to get out of the way, I think. I think now this is just a guess again, but from the lip reading, I think that he's saying that Baylor didn't make an effort to get out of the way of the pitch.
Well, I'd probably dispute that. He ducked down. Obviously, he didn't go flying out of the box. He ducked down a little bit. I think it may simply be the question of whether or not he got hit. That may have been the ruling, though. They wouldn't be explaining it that much if it was a question he didn't get hit.
McNamara has a look on his face like Voltaggio speaking Arabic, you know?
He's saying, like, I've been in baseball 40 years. I've never seen this. Here's a replay again.
See if it hits him. Can't tell from that angle. Baylor apparently thought he got hurt. Now, again, Baylor simply striding. He starts to swing, and it's certainly like he didn't try to get out of the way. I have no idea what that ruling was.
Don, just don't hit a home run. There's a pop-up foul back toward the stand. Slot comes back. He won't have room. The count will hold. The count will be 1 ball and 2 strikes, so they ended up calling it a ball. So that eliminates the possibility of it being a foul ball.
They called it a ball, which means it did not hit him. They ruled it did not hit him after they ruled it did hit him. And they sought the help of the first base umpire, who had an impossible angle to help him out.
That's right.
Oh, good.
This is also a lesson to all you youngsters watching at home and keeping score. Always use pencil. 1 ball and 2 strikes with 1 out. Always have these instructional notes for youngsters watching the game. Swing and a miss, and Baylor fans. 2 away.
I wonder if Baylor will now stop, go back up, and say, hey, I really didn't swing. Despite what you saw and what you called, I didn't.
Well, let's see if that turns out to be a key moment in the ballgame. It has been early as Dwight Evans steps in now. That's the 2nd out.
Baylor seems awfully composed for a man who was wronged.
Doesn't he?
Maybe he wasn't wronged.
Dwight Evans hitting .262, 18 homers, 80 runs batted in. Runners remain at first and second, 1-0 Red Sox. If you're wondering, if you just tuned in, we're in the top of the first. Bouncing ball to short. Coming in, Wilkerson on the run. That retires the side. So in the top of the first inning, the Red Sox get a run on 2 hits, no errors, 2 men left on base. We go to the bottom of the first with the Rangers coming to bat. McDowell, Hara, and O'Brien on Home Sports Entertainment. Guests on our Rangers pregame show receive a gift from Sterling Jewelry. Sterling Jewelry does more for your world in our world. Here's how the Texas Rangers will come to the plate in the first inning and ensuing innings. It will be Odubie McDowell leading off in center field, followed by second baseman Toby Hara. Pete O'Brien is hitting third at first base. Pete Incaviglia is the designated hitter. Batting 6th in left field is Gary Ward. Ruben Sierra in right. The catcher hitting 7th is Don Slott. Steve Buechele at third, and Curtis Wilkerson is the shortstop. Defensively for the Red Sox around the infield, Boggs, Owen, Barrett, and Buckner. The outfield left to right, Rice, Armas, and Evans. And the battery, Gedman catching and Oil Can Boyd on the mound.
Dennis Oil Can Boyd is 12-9 and a 3.94 earned run average. That's a good record, but it's gotten worse lately. Dennis Boyd was the 2nd leading winner in the American League at the All-Star break. And that's probably what set him off most when he didn't make the All-Star team. He had the celebrated tantrum, was suspended by the Red Sox, then brought back, then suspended again by the Red Sox. He has given up 9 more hits than innings pitched. 2 things stand out about Dennis Boyd. A very good strikeouts to walks ratio, 85 strikeouts and only 34 walks. But oh my, does he serve up some fat ones. 25 home runs allowed in 155 innings. Greg, he averages allowing a homer every 6 innings.
Biggest problem with the can is that sometimes he'll lose his concentration. He has great stuff, great live arm, can throw the fastball in the 90s, and sometimes he'll just lose his concentration, as has happened to him. But he's a very animated pitcher, much as Mike Loynd is, and very good pitcher. He'll be facing Oddibe McDowell leading things off. Oddibe comes into the game at .278 with 16 homers and 41 RBIs, and he's hit safely in 9 straight starts, and overall in 9 of his last 10 games during that period hitting .342. So he has been hitting well of late. Last night was 1 out of 4. Third baseman Boggs, of course, will play him in shallow. 1 ball and no strikes.
The can is from Meridian, Mississippi, and he has 5 pitches. A fastball, a curve, a slider, a change, and he's added a little screwball.
Rich Gedman uses all the fingers when Oil Can is on the mound. High pop fly, short center field, having a little trouble with the sun is Tony Armas, and he has to come in a few steps. 1 away. McDowell retired, and that'll bring up Toby Harrah.
All you Ranger fans, there's an ugly score out of New York. The Angels have given Mike Witt a run, and sometimes that's all he needs.
It's early. Toby hitting .216, 4 homers, 33 RBIs. Last night was hitless. First pitch from Oil Can Boyd is taken for a strike. Harrah is only 3 for 19 in his last 7 games, but if you go back farther than that, the last 16 games or so, he's hitting .299. Last 22 games, I should say. So he's improved his average, even though it's still only up to .216. And in baseball, you go with guys who may be hot at the present time. That's why sometimes you don't look at the actual numbers. That's out of play to the right behind the home plate area.
Dennis Boyd, after he had that tantrum and was suspended by the Red Sox, then was suspended again, asked the Red Sox and admitted himself then to a hospital and asked for complete drug testing. He wanted to assure the world that his tantrums had nothing to do with chemical abuse of any kind.
And he came out clean, we might add. 1 ball and 2 balls and 2 strikes now to Harrah.
Turns out that Boyd himself personally is under a lot of pressure. He's trying to support a family. He's got 2 different houses. He apparently is some debt, and the new big money contract he signed last year with the Red Sox doesn't kick in until 1987.
He didn't swing, so that one's ball 3. The other thing I think, Norm, was he had that tantrum about the All-Star game because he has incentive clauses in his contract, and that cost him some money. So when you're already under money pressure, and these guys get under money pressure just like you or I, even though they make more. Long drive by Harrah, back to the wall. Goodbye. This ball game is tied as Toby Harrah rips the ball on a line for his 5th homer of the year, and we're even at 1-1 in the first.
Well, there goes my bet, Greg. 2 runs in the game already.
Yeah, we never got anything down on that either.
Dennis Boyd got a pitch up to Harrah, and make no mistake about it, though Toby these later years has decreased a bit as a power hitter, he still has more than enough to crank out a fat fastball, and that's exactly what that was.
Right up above the belt, right where hitters like him, and he didn't waste any time. Line shot. Pete O'Brien. It's a high fastball for a ball. Pete hitting .294 with 19 home runs and 75 RBIs. He's creeping up on Pete Incaviglia, who's the club leader. Pete's been stuck on number 20 for a while. That's inside for a strike. We were talking before the game about being stuck on home runs. It seems like you look in the paper and you've looked in the paper for 2 weeks, and none of the National League home run leaders have hit one. Schmidt's had 27 forever. Davis in Houston's had 25 forever. 1 ball and 2 strikes to Pete O'Brien. Vic Voltaggio will make sure everyone knows it. 2 runs already scored here in the first inning, and so much for the Sun, huh?
Tell you what, tack another run on for the Angels.
Well, it's still early. It's only the 2nd inning, and it's 2-0. There's always a bright side, too, in all of this. They got so many games left. You know they're not going to lose all the rest of them that they play. You just got to make sure you win more than they do, about 3 or 4 more before it's all over. There's a foul tip into the glove and a strikeout. O'Brien is fanned by. That's 2 away. It'll bring up Incaviglia. Tim Foley is coaching down at third for the Rangers, as he has all year. And over at first, veteran Art Howe. Each pitcher with a strikeout. Each pitcher having surrendered a run. And Pete Incaviglia hitting .257, 20 homers and 66 RBIs. Pete, however, much stronger hitter this year at home.
By the way, one more note about that California game. The Angels are still hitting in the top of the 2nd with those 2 runs in.
Big swing and a miss. Incaviglia had last night off. Didn't start last night's game. Back in the lineup now against Oil Can. 108 hits and 420 at bats. That comes out to .257. Here's the 0-1. Chopper, that'll be foul. Foley, the old infielder, makes the play. Makes a rather bad throw, however, over to the ball boy. Missed his target a little bit. You talk about scrappy players. Foley, all the years that he was playing, primarily in the. Well, he played with the Mets, and of course he was at Montreal for a while. He was quite a scrappy type. Sort of the type that this Ranger team has proven to be. The 0-2, 0-3. Dropped the ball, but will make the tag. And so, after giving up a home run to Toby Harrah, Oil Can Boyd got tough, but he struck out O'Brien and Incaviglia. But the score is tied. A run on a hit as we go to the 2nd inning, the top of the frame. Armas, Gedman, and Owen on HSE.
The traditional midpoint break of the baseball season is the All-Star game. Let's show you what the American League East standings looked like at the All-Star game. Boston led by 7. And today they still lead by 6, by the way. They led New York, then Cleveland, then came Baltimore, Toronto, Detroit, and Milwaukee. Now you say to yourself, gee, things haven't really changed. But they could have. Look at how the Red Sox have staggered since the All-Star break. This team is just 17-21 since the All-Star break. That is the worst record in the American League East since the All-Star break. But they still lead by 6 because the Yankees haven't gotten hot. Neither has Baltimore. In fact, Greg, the teams that have been hot were the bottom 3 at the All-Star break. Milwaukee, Toronto, and the best in the East since the All-Star break, Detroit.
Well, they are proving the old adage that a win in April is as good as a win in September. If you get a big lead, pressure is somewhat off. Of course, it can come back. Tony Armas is the hitter, and he's quickly down, no balls and 2 strikes. Armas, .266, 10 homers and 41 RBIs. You know, isn't it strange, Norm, that this is the year? Remember early in the year everyone was saying, oh, something wrong with the ball, too much rabbit in it. And yet there are several hitters, particularly on this Red Sox team, that aren't hitting as many home runs as you'd expect. And there's the case in point, as Armas is fooled on the breaking ball, and he's a strikeout victim.
Joel Armas, who annually bashes 30 or so, just has barely crept into double figures recently.
Rich Gedman, the catcher. Rich has double figures, as he's had the last couple of years, hitting .254, 12 homers, 51 RBIs.
Well, if they've juiced it up, don't tell Reggie Jackson. He went more than a month without hitting one.
Another case. I think we just simply have a changing of the guard. And the reason that we're seeing home runs from certain people is that, you know, the Wally Joyners and the Cansecos and the Incavillas and the National League, the Glenn Davises and people like that. That's just the wave of the future. The torch is being passed, perhaps. There's a ball. 1 ball and no strikes.
By the way, we'll show you the American League West since the All-Star break and what's happened there. There's an intriguing note from the American League West we'll show you next half inning.
1 ball and no strikes to Gedman, who was on the All-Star team. In fact, he's been on the All-Star team the last 2 years, and it's 2 balls and no strikes.
Don't remind him. He caught Charlie Huff.
Yeah. Miami Vice look is all over baseball, and remember the folks that used to sponsor it all the time? No endorsements for these guys.
No Gillette.
2 balls and a strike.
Yeah, this would never work at Old Ebbets Field where the big gem razor blade sign was out on the outfield wall.
There's a foul. They're all just trying to imitate our AD up here in the booth, Greg Mayero. He is their idol. They're all letting their hair grow on their face. 2 balls and 2 strikes. There's a hard shot right at Pete O'Brien, who'll make the play unassisted, and that's out number 2. Well, there's a former University of Texas star who came over in a deal not long ago with the Seattle Mariners, shortstop Spike Owen. Well, what a lucky guy Spike has been to be able to be traded mid-season and be traded to not only a contender but a team that could very well win it all, coming from a club, Seattle, which has never had really any success while he's been there.
Well, and also, Greg, a club that he could conceivably be the starting shortstop for the next 5 to 10 years.
That's why they made the deal. The Red Sox didn't think they had anybody really ready to push any of the people that they had, and they really had a problem there. They had some shortstops that either couldn't hit, a little bit of fielding, or they had some that had no range at all. And so Owen, who is not a great hitter, but at least spark pluggy type player and adequately defensively, could be there for a long time, as you say.
Well, you know, Seattle got a nice player in that trade. Ray Quinones is going to be a nice shortstop, but Owen is a little more advanced at this stage, and Boston got one other thing in the deal. They got outfield depth, and they're very thin. Dave Henderson's a pretty solid player to have sitting on your bench.
That's a strike. 2 balls and 1 strike. Owen will draw a lot of base on balls. He is well, in the National League, he'd be a good 8th place hitter because he draws the walks, and that gets the pitcher from leading off next innings, and also gets him in a position to sacrifice quite often. That's a foul ball. Of course, here he's batting in the 9th spot, and he can set things up for the next guy who isn't a bad hitter himself, Wade Boggs.
Tell you what, Spike's picked up the pace batting in runs a little bit too. He's up to 36 this season.
And that's a good point, because he was not a good RBI man, even regardless of where he was in the order before. There's, a line shot. That was off of the glove of Loin. Buechele can't make the play. Boy, it is a good thing the glove got up, because when that was first hit, I'm not sure it did. But it went off of Loin's glove, and he's a little mad at himself. That'll be a base hit. A very hard hit ball. Let's see it.
Tell you what, Mike Loin smiling after this is like whistling past the dark alley at midnight. I don't think that hit the glove.
If it did, it hit the back of the glove, closed. It didn't hit the pocket. But it was headed right for the head.
That's kind of scary.
Well, we're at the top of the batting order. Wade Boggs. 2 outs. We're tied at 1-1, and we're in the top of the 2nd. Spike Owen has a little bit of speed, but Boggs takes the ball low. In fact, he's about as got as much speed as they have on this ball club. That might be another plus that they achieve. He has never been really a base stealer, but as far as Red Sox runners are concerned, he'd be right up there at their top. That's a strike.
Tell you what, something's happened to him as a base stealer, though. He was in double figures 3 years in a row in Seattle, and this year he has only 1.
There he goes. He may have 2. Slott's throw is down in time, but he didn't get him. It was a little bit to the left, and the outstretched arm of Owen got in there, so you can update your stat, Norm. That's 2.
He's up to 2 for the year.
It was a good throw.
zings it. Yeah, it was a good throw. That was simply a question of the runner getting a nice jump and outrunning the defense, basically. That's all it is. Nobody's fault. Nice jump by Owen and stolen base.
So Spike Owen at second base, and he's in scoring position for the league's leading hitter. 2 balls and a strike to Boggs. That's upstairs.
That would be a good thing to do with Wade Boggs. I believe Mike Loynd would much rather take his chances, even though Barrett's a good player, would much rather take his chances with him than with Boggs.
The 3-1 fouled away. 3 balls and 2 strikes. Wade Boggs has a chance to be one of the all-time greats, and here's why, Norm.
These are the leading hitters by the decades. Wagner, Cobb, Hornsby, Terry, Williams twice.
Slap, foul, base hit. That'll score Owen. And Boggs will go into second base with a double. He just slapped that ball down the left side, and he is a master at that. But when you're a .350 hitter, you kind of expect it. Breaking ball, it was actually coming down and in on him a little bit, and he waited and slapped.
That's, again at home, that's an incredibly difficult thing to do as you see the ball go down the line. Dave Burchett and Bob Steinfeld, if we could save that pitch again and show it once more after a pitch to Barrett, that's an incredible example of why Boggs is such a good hitter.
There are few hitters that can do that. The ball gets away. Moving over to third base is Boggs as it bounced up to slot, and it'll be a wild pitch.
Wild pitch and moves the chicken man to third.
Never saw a chicken he couldn't eat.
Take a look at this. Now this is a pitch you're going to pull, Greg. That's a breaking ball up and in, and he waits so long on the break that he hits it to left field. There aren't 3 hitters in baseball that would have hit that ball to the opposite side of the field.
There aren't a lot of baseballs that would have hit it for a base hit at all, because they would have pulled it or they would have dribbled it, because it was an off-speed type curveball, and he just waited so well. There's a strike. 1 ball and no strikes to Barrett. Barrett walked and scored the first run in the first. It is 2-1 Red Sox, and we're in the top of the second. Runner at third with 2 outs.
Well, Loynd joins the group now. Everybody on the club has a wild pitch.
There's a foul right side, back into the stands. We're putting some back up on the street. One thing I think that's interesting here, 1960s, 328. That's not all that high. And you think of the 60s as one of the golden eras.
Look at Boggs, though. 351. My goodness. And some of the names that led decades, it gives you an idea of where Boggs is headed for baseball history.
2 balls and 2 strikes to Barrett. Loynd has been struggling with his control, and then when he gets a pretty good pitch, it's ruined by Wade Boggs. That's the story of baseball. That's really the story in the major leagues. You've got to have that control, because the good hitters are going to get you anyway. 2 balls and 2 strikes to Barrett, a 5'10", 176-pounder. He was a collegiate star at Arizona State. Waits for it, comes in, and right through the wicket. Wilkerson with a base hit. Or rather, Wilkerson with the error, I'm sorry, and the run scoring on the bouncing ball by Barrett. That'll be an unearned run, but it goes up on the scoreboard just the same. And that was an easy play.
Yes, it was an easy play, quite frankly. Curtis has made a few damaging errors on easy plays, and he just picked up the apron before the ball had gotten there.
3-1. Wilkerson, of course, has played a mostly second base this year. He's giving Fletcher a rest over at short. Down at first is Barrett with 2 outs. Buckner the hitter. Buckner singled and took Barrett to third base in the first inning. That's outside. 1 ball and no strikes. Just came up too quick. Actually just never went down. You got to stay down.
Barrett's the one guy in this club that will run a little bit, and this is a pretty good spot to run also.
Well, they used him on a hit and run the first time up when he went to third on Buckner's single, and there he goes. Buckner bluffs the bunt. That's a straight steal. The throw is high, but it's in time. And Barrett is gunned down by Slaught. In the second inning, 2 runs on 1 hit, 1 error, and nobody left on base. As the Rangers now trail it 2-1, they'll come up in the second with Ward, Sierra, and Slaught on Home Sports Entertainment.
We showed you last break what's happened in the American League East. Here's the West at the All-Star break. Notice Texas starts play 3 games behind tonight, so California's actually stretched it out a bit. Notice also how Chicago, Kansas City, Seattle have totally backed off this division. But before we change it, guys, hang on. I'll give you the trivia question. Do you know who the hottest team in baseball is since the All-Star break? It is nobody from the East. Would you believe the Oakland A's are 22-13? And notice the Red Sox, of all the teams in baseball, in the American League, the Red Sox are just the 10th best team in the league since the All-Star break.
That's why they got to just hope that it doesn't slip away. They really, if no one gets any hotter than they have against them, they can hang around there at 500 and still win. But it seems in baseball someone always gets hot sooner or later.
Well, on the Red Sox good side, Greg, the teams that could have caught them are not the ones that got hot in the American League East. The Yankees and Baltimore have drifted along with the Red Sox.
Gary Ward bangs the ball up the middle on the 0-1 pitch, and Ward with a base hit coming into the game, hitting .314. He has the highest average of those in the starting lineup. There's another case. I think Gary's another case. We talk about players that have hit for more power in the past, but not this time. His average is fine at .314. He's got 50 RBIs, but only has those 5 home runs. Here's Ruben Sierra, gets a fine hand for his heroics last night. He had a big tying home run in an earlier game this year against Seattle, and then won it. Then was on the ball club that came back in the bottom of the 9th on a base hit by Odeby McDowell. Of course, he's had a couple of game-winning hits. Big game-winning home run last night. Takes it up for a ball. Been hitting the ball a lot better of late, and I think he's in the major leagues to stay. He was just tearing up the American Association while he was there.
Well, you know, one of the bright young stars of the National League is a Cincinnati Reds player named Eric Davis. Jim Fregosi, the new manager of the White Sox, who managed Louisville in the American Association, said Ruben Sierra was the best player he'd seen come through his league since Eric Davis.
And Eric has 61 RBIs and 20 home runs this year, and he had a little sluggy start. There's a bouncing ball past Buckner. That'll be a base hit, I believe, as Ward goes into second base and holds. We'll wait for the ruling. It is a base hit, and the Rangers have 2 hits in a row, and they got something going here in the second.
I see. It's going to be one of those type evenings. Sierra just tomahawks this inside fastball and lashes it past Buckner. Tough play for Billy Buck. Then he gets in Gary Ward's way.
Well, that's the advantage of being a left-handed hitter in this case. If he's not a left-handed hitter, that goes to the third baseman if he pulls it the other way, and it's an easy out. And at the same token, that's the advantage of being a left-handed hitter with a man on first. Here's the catcher.
You wonder what's going through his mind right now, hey?
First time he's faced oil can Boyd since he was hit in the face. And there's the result, the protection that he has been wearing, Don Slaught. That's up and away for ball. You know, it's interesting. I think Art Howe was quoted as saying, you know, he was kind of surprised that Oil Can came over and talked to Don in batting practice last night. He said, you know, if he's thinking about it that much, he may be throwing away. He may not be able to throw inside to Don. Let's see. 2 in a row away. That one's popped up, however, and backing up will be Barrett, the second baseman. 1 away.
Texas had the hit and run on there, both runners breaking.
Steve Buechele with the customary greeting comes up with runners at first and second. Taking a check of Foley coaching at third. 247 average. 15 homers, 45 runs batted in. Down at second is Gary Ward. He led off with a single up the middle. Sierra bounced a single through the right side. And the pop-up by Slaught. 3-1 Boston. One of those runs unearned. They've scored in each of the first 2 innings. The Rangers trying to hold up their end of the scoreboard. Swung through it.
Dennis Boyd's had 2 starts against the Rangers this year, and he's pitched well in each of them. That May 17th game in Boston where Slaught was hit in the face, he won 8-2, a complete game. Then he won May 23rd in Texas 2-1, going 8 innings. In 17 innings, he's allowed just 12 hits and 3 runs.
He had a bad most of August, and he had that last year, and then he bounced back in September. There's a bunt foul tip for a strike. No balls and 2 strikes. Buechele is hoping that his recent 7-game stretch is an indication that he's going to start hitting again. He's been hitting .350 in the last 7 games, but over the last 44, his average has only been 198. Rangers could use his bat more consistently. No balls and 2 strikes with 1 out. Infield plays for the double play, and they won't get it on that pitch. It's away.
Dennis Boyd does not appear to have good snappy stuff tonight. His breaking stuff, at least early, and pitchers sometimes find their stuff during games. His breaking ball seems soft tonight.
Little bit of a roll to it instead of a snap.
Yes.
That one stays up. Hard chopper. Boggs comes up. Only play to first. The runners move up to second and third. Buechele is retired at first. Ward goes to third. Sierra at second. And it'll bring up Curtis Wilkerson. 2 away. Well, Curtis can make up for that boot here real quick with a nice single up the middle. And the way the Rangers have played this year, you just almost expect it, don't you?
Yeah, you kind of do, as a matter of fact. You know, a player that makes an error, though, hopes for a chance like this.
Pitch is inside. 1 ball and no strikes. Top of the batting order would be next. McDowell on deck.
Oil Can Boyd is not a favorite around the major leagues. He has some detractors. Gene Mauch calls him dipstick.
There's a breaking ball that was fooling Wilkerson. That's a nice thing. Well, it's oil cans. He wasn't tested too much in his last start, was Oil Can. He had a little bit of cushion to work with in his last start.
Yeah, they got him 3 touchdowns and a field goal.
Here's the 1-1. Fouled away. 1 ball and 2 strikes.
You know, one of the more remarkable statistics out of that win, which was 24-5 over Cleveland, was that 23 of the 24 runs were scored with 2 outs. Like, Cleveland almost won the game if they could have just gotten the last out a couple times. They got 12 runs in 1 inning with 2 outs.
Here's the 1 ball and 2 strike pitch. Struck him out. Well, that retires the side, and so the Rangers strand a pair. They have no runs on 2 hits, no errors, a couple people left on base. We go to the third with a score. Red Sox 3, Rangers 1. It'll be Buckner, Rice, and Baylor on Home Sports Entertainment.
Texas Rangers baseball is more fun in a group. Bring your group to Arlington Stadium. For special group discounts, call the Rangers ticket office at Metro 273-5222.
Tomorrow night, while my regular broadcast partner Merle Harmon is doing the kickoff classic, Bob Carpenter will be here. Our regular airtime, 7:30. The Rangers' Ed Correa faces the Red Sox' Bruce Hurst. That's tomorrow night, our next Ranger HSE telecast, and we'd like to congratulate somebody. We'd like to congratulate Greg Lucas, our broadcast partner tonight, who will leave the state of Texas soon to become the new play-by-play voice of the Indiana Pacers.
Thank you, Norm, and all the guys that know how to type in the truck.
Well, Greg, for all the work you've done on NBA basketball and baseball and track and boxing and swimming, and did you do the Pin Oak horseshoe?
Not this time.
You didn't do it this time, did you?
Bill Buckner leading off here in the third. He singled in the first inning. Of course, he was at the plate ending the second inning when Barrett was thrown out trying to steal. Buckner's always been a solid ball player, overcoming those handicaps. He drives the ball to center, but no problem for Oddibe McDowell. Jim Rice, the left fielder, will step in. Jim singled and drove in the first run of the game in the first. Came in hitting .326, so he's up that just a tad.
I want to talk about a contract, Greg. I know you just signed a new contract, okay, with the Indiana Pacers.
You're not going to compare me with Jim Rice.
So we'll talk Jim Rice's contract, okay?
That's like comparing a bag lady with Nelson Rockefeller. There's a ball that legitimately hit the batter, and Rice will go down to first base.
Rice gets $1.5 million this year, $1.6 million next year, $1.7 million in '88, $1.8 million in '89. He gets $250,000 any year he's the MVP, $200,000 if he finishes second. If he's the League Championship Series MVP, that's $100,000. World Series MVP, that's $100,000. All-Star, $25,000. From 1990 to 1999, $185,000 a year deferred.
Huh. I think he's all right. He's going to have to work again.
One more thing. If he's still a decent player in the year 1990, the club has the option to pay him $2.3 million for that year.
Oh, well, I'd take that up. 1 ball and no strikes to Baylor, who thought he was hit the first time up and then eventually struck out. And he now has a 1-1 count. What a big year, 1979 with the Angels, 139 RBIs for Baylor. Not only that, that's production, but he's a team leader in spirit as well as with the numbers.
The judge.
Yeah. On the fists, fouled back behind the screen, out of play. In fact, I think George Steinbrenner even now realizes that that was probably one of his less astute moves during the offseason, because he underestimated the value of Baylor as a team leader with the Yankees. 1 ball and 2 strikes. He holds up. It's 2-2.
Peter Hurt, the young man who co-authored the Elias Baseball Analyst, has a whole raft of statistics. When the Yankees talk about should they have kept Jackson or not kept Winfield, Peter Hurt's analysis is that Baylor was the best of all 3 playing for them.
That's fouled. Count holding. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Well, you know, if you look at games won and games won while playing and games won while being around, his numbers compare favorably with anyone. He's been on winners everywhere.
Yes.
Boston, Baltimore. It started, of course, with Baltimore, then California and the Yankees, and now Boston. He hasn't had a dog team in his resume. There's a way high hit foul ball over the grandstand and out of the ballpark. Got way under that ball.
Greg Mayuro's seen a lot of baseball games in this park. Have you ever seen one hit out of the park over there? That's tough to do, hit it out of the park over by the press box.
2-2. Swing and a miss on the fastball. He just smoked him, and Baylor strikes out for the second time.
Mike Loynd has to relish this, because you know what the scouts always said about Mike Loynd. Doesn't throw hard enough to make it in the big leagues.
That's because they saw him throw that. He just threw that one by a big hitter. Listen, there's a lot of guys in baseball that don't throw half as hard, or maybe that's an exaggeration, but don't throw nearly as hard as Loynd. It's all knowing how to pitch, and he's got that great breaking ball, and he used it a lot, and that's what, of course, the scouts saw. They thought, oh, he throws too many breaking balls, but he's a good young pitcher.
Yeah, you're right. If an 87-mile-an-hour fastball that moves is much superior to a 93-mile-an-hour fastball that doesn't. Good pitch.
Dwight Evans, the right fielder, bounced out to short to end the first inning. He's down no balls and a strike. Here's the 0-1. Off speed, popped up. Loynd calls for Buechele at third. And it's a scoreless third. So for the first time, the Red Sox go down without a run or a hit. 1 base runner. Rice hit by the pitch. And we go to the bottom of the third with a score remaining. 3-1. The Red Sox lead the Rangers. Coming up the top of the order, McDowell, Hara, and O'Brien on Home Sports Entertainment.
Some of our guests on HSE Texas Ranger games receive tickets to AMC Theaters, 9 Metroplex locations featuring an exclusive Twilight discount 7 days a week. That's AMC Theaters. let's take you around the American League scoreboard. The Yankees hit in the bottom of the 4th. Mike Witt against Doug Drabeck, the pitching matchup there. Cleveland got 4 in the first off Joe Johnson. Toronto has just narrowed it with 2 in the top of the 4th and continue to hit. In Kansas City, Charlie Leibrandt leads Dickie Dotson with Kansas City still hitting on top of the 2nd. Baltimore, Seattle, Oakland, Detroit, Minnesota, Milwaukee, all later starts. In fact, 2 of those ought to be just starting, Oakland, Detroit, and Minnesota, Milwaukee.
National League only has 1 game even underway, and that's 1-1 Cincinnati and Pittsburgh in the 4th. Top of the batting order, Oddibe McDowell against Oil Can Boyd. Takes the bunt foul. He deadened it well, just didn't direct it down the third baseline. McDowell hit a fly ball to center field in the first inning. I don't know how many folks come out to the ballpark in time to see the Rangers in their, well, relatively new workout garb of the shorts and the t-shirts. Makes a lot of sense.
In this heat it does, yeah.
Sure does.
Joe Ferguson was out. The coach was in his shorts. Did you see him? We've decided the definition of suspension in baseball. It's that you can't wear your long pants on a game night.
There's a foul ball out of play. You know, Bill Veeck, who had the shorts as part of that uniform combination with the White Sox, they only wore them a couple of times, probably just was ahead of his time. He should have thought of those as only a pregame uniform instead of using them in the game, because that was back in the days when you wore the same uniform for pregame as you did in the game. They never thought of it.
Boy, baseball's really getting fancy, isn't it?
Oh, hey.
Pregame uniforms.
No balls and 2 strikes. That's just away. You know, it all started with those different colored workout shirts.
Yes.
Back in the old days, you just went in, you got perspiring, and you just put on another of the same shirts.
Well, it used to be great to come see the Oakland A's workout. You know, they'd take batting practice in yellow tops and white bottoms. As you see McDowell pop one up down the third baseline. This may be Owen's ball, eh?
He's going to have room. And Owen makes the play. 1 away.
But then, Greg, they'd come out for the game and they'd be in their green tops and yellow bottoms, and then the next day you'd come out and they'd work out in white tops and green bottoms and play in yellow tops and green bottoms, and it was great.
I always thought it was a plot by the concessionaires to sell more shirts. You never knew which, was the official color.
We've got it all now, though. We got batting gloves and sliding gloves now.
That's right.
Guys will take off their batting gloves and put on their sliding gloves.
Hara bounces the ball into the Red Sox dugout. Toby hit a home run for the Rangers' only run of the ball game, a line drive home run in the first, his 5th of the year. Well, there's a solid veteran that goes way back to, of course, all the way. His rookie year was with the Washington Senators, and what a thrill it would be for him to play on a winner here. Of course, it'd be a thrill for all of these guys, but I think the guy that's played as long as Toby has and has not tasted the ultimate success of a division championship, well, no, the ultimate, of course, would be the World Series. Bouncing ball to Boggs, goes down on one knee, scoots it over for out number 2. Pete O'Brien.
Dennis Boyd really didn't get his due for his accomplishments last season. He won 15 games, but you talk about a guy that was consistent. He made 35 starts and pitched at least 7 innings in 33 of them. He averaged, an average start for Dennis Boyd, he got 2 outs in the 8th inning. That's awfully good pitching.
That's durability for a guy who's about 6 feet tall and weighs, if he's lucky, 145 pounds. 1 ball and no strikes. But, you know, that's the other thing about baseball. You know, all of the way modern science in most sports has developed weight training and all of the exercises. You're born with an arm. Dennis Boyd does not exactly have a heavily muscled arm. You're born with that knack to throw, that coordination. You can't build up a throwing arm to any great extent in the weight room. You can maybe improve it, but you can't build it. 1 ball and 1 strike.
Yeah, you're right. Tom House can teach mechanics, but you've got to have some basic ability.
That's upstairs. 2-1.
You know, we don't usually read a lot of notes given us from Ranger fans because you'd be doing it all the time. But this one was left for us. It's the birthday of Gus Langus. Okay, and his daughter Christy left us a note.
Rice will make the play.
It's his birthday, and you know what he asked for his birthday? He asked the family to give him peace from 6:30 to the end of the Ranger game so he could watch HSE.
He's got it. His daughter, by the way, came up here. She works up here in the, she's one of the attendants in the booth.
Happy birthday to Gus Langus from his daughter Christy.
We'll go now to the 4th inning. The score hanging 3-1. Boston over the Rangers on HSE. We're going to have 10 Southwest Conference football games for you this season, brought to you on a same-day, delayed basis each Saturday night at 10:30. We'll kick off the schedule with a real attractive game. The Stanford Cardinals versus the Stanford Cardinal, that is in color, versus the Texas Longhorns from Memorial Stadium in Austin, Saturday, September 13th. That's Southwest Conference football beginning in just over 2 weeks on HSE. See, you're going to be at that game, right, Norm?
Yeah, I'll be doing Texas Stanford.
You may see 2 passing teams.
Ooh, I tell you what, Texas, there are some offensive people in that game.
Tony Armas leading off here in the 4th. He struck out.
In fact, the guy that plays quarterback for Stanford, many people say could be a big league pitcher someday, John Pay.
There's a drive up the middle as Armas lines a single. Now, quarterback for Texas Tech, Billy Joe Tolliver. He was quite a pitcher. Told me when I talked to him a few weeks ago at the Southwest Conference get-together here in Dallas that he threw 13 no-hitters in his high school career.
Oh, well.
That's why he can throw that football. Runner at first base, and it brings up catcher Rich Gedman. Gedman bounced unassisted to O'Brien in the 2nd inning. 3-1 the score. Red Sox lead it. 1 in the 1st, 2 in the 2nd. Looping drive left side. It'll fall for a base hit. The runner is on the move with the pitch. Armas is going to come around 3rd and hold at 3rd base as the ball is relayed from Ward. It's a double, however, for Rich Gedman. And the Red Sox have something going now with nobody out.
How does Rich Gedman hit the ball with his stance? Look at where his hands are. They're straight behind home plate. And yet he's still inside out the pitch and drives it well, hits the ball 300 feet down the left field line.
He has that wide open stance. Of course, if you have the wide open stance, Bobby Valentine coming to the mound, if you have that wide open stance, of course, you've got to step toward the ball. That's one thing that will enable him to hit the ball to left field a little bit. There is action in the bullpen. Mason is down throwing. Boy, beards are in with the Rangers. They're letting the faces grow. Valentine has had his words. Of course, he has to keep this game close.
Well, it would be advisable for Mike Loynd to get Spike Owen if he wants to stay in the game, basically, because the left-hander Boggs, you don't gain much throwing a left-hander against Boggs, but then he's followed by a right-hander Barrett and a left-hander Buckner.
And that would be exactly what Valentine is thinking of. Owen, that's college. The Texas Longhorns. He has not played for the Rangers. Who knows, the way baseball goes, someday he might, but he holds the University of Texas records in all of those departments. His coach, Cliff Gustafson, was in the city last night, watched the game. It's inside for a ball. Well, he was able to see several of his old players all in one spot because he has 3 of them on the Red Sox.
And he has a lot of them in the bigs now. Greg Swindell, Bruce Ruffin, Bob Kearney, Keith Moreland.
Infield in with runners at 2nd and 3rd and nobody out. Now this is the situation, Norm, that Owen always had the bad rap, that he was not a good hitter in this type of a situation. You know, you say he's not going to have a lot of RBIs because he bats 8th or 9th. That's true, but even when he had the chances, he wasn't very good at it. Let's see what happens.
You know, this is a situation that in Seattle, they used the squeeze with Spike a few times. He's a very good bunter.
Fouled into the crowd, and he's down on the count. 1 ball and 2 strikes. And this is the situation where if you are a 240 hitter, as he is this year, 244, with the infield in, you really should be at least a 265, 270 hitter, although now with 2 strikes, they've dropped back because they don't feel there is a chance that he might squeeze. They will give up the run unless it's hit extremely hard because they are back at normal depth. 1-2 pitch. That's foul, and that'll be down into the crowd. with a big hitter, that very pitch would have been curling around the foul pole in home run territory. But Spike is not a big hitter. Mike Loynd, can you imagine winning 20 games in a college season? He won it this year.
By the way, Mike Loynd is now well over 200 innings pitched this year. So from a standpoint of fatigue, you got to start worrying about Mike Loynd. He's working on his 230th inning of the season competitively.
That's foul at the plate. And he didn't have too much of a break because he signed rather quickly and, of course, started in the minor leagues. Unlike Greg Swindell, who just recently signed with the Cleveland Indians. He had quite a bit of a break before he reported to the minors. And then he was part of that game that he shall never forget. One ball and 2 strikes. Rangers are trailing 3-1. We're in the top of the 4th. Runners at second and third. Armas at third. Gedman at second. Spike Owen the hitter. Bouncing ball. Hara thought about coming home, but goes to first. He would have had no play at the plate. Had the infield been in, the run would not have been able to score on that particular play because it wasn't hit off to the side. But a run does score. Owen gets the RBI, and it makes it 4-1.
Spike Owen will go back to the Boston dugout, and he'll get an attaboy from the Red Sox. Because if you're going to make it, in fact, did you hear John McNamara say, "Attaway to go, Spike"?
I guess it was an attaway, I'm told.
Good point.
Here's an intentional walk to Wade Boggs.
Is this respect? Look at this.
Well, you've got Marty Barrett. Again, we're not trying to take anything away from Marty Barrett, but Marty hits less than 345. In fact, he's had a good year. He's hitting 294, so you're giving up maybe 50 points. The thing about it is that Barrett, if you do it right, you can pitch to him. Boggs, I don't think you can pitch to him, period. He almost has to make his own outs.
By the way, you know, Wade Boggs leads the league in hitting. He also leads the league in walks. This is the 87th he's drawn. My goodness. Usually you'll find guys that are great hitters will make such outrageous contact that they hardly ever walk. It's just a factor of the fact they hit the ball a lot. Boggs is also so unbelievably selective in what he swings at that he gets a lot of walks.
Didn't I see a statistic that he was a 390 hitter after having an 0-2 count?
124 of his 240 hits last year came with 2 strikes.
That is just way against the percentages.
Yeah.
Most hitters are way under their normal averages when they have 2 strikes. Well, here's Barrett, and that one's into the dirt. 1 ball and no strikes, bases loaded. Loynd has struggled the entire game. He had a relatively easy third. He did hit a batter, but his control has just not been there. He has been unable to really take charge with the hitters. He's given up 6 hits, 4 runs, 3 of them earned as he takes a look at the runner. I'm sorry, runners at first and third. I said they were loaded, but they are no longer loaded. Armas scored, and Gedman is at third. Boggs is at first. 1 ball and no strikes.
Barrett will probably try to go to the right side with this ball. Big hole over there.
That's a strike on the inside corner. That would have been tough for him to do it with.
Well, that's the deal. If you get a feeling that hitter wants to take the ball to the right side, you try to work the inside corner on him. Bust the ball off on his hands a little bit.
Umpire behind the plate, Vic Voltaggio. Barrett walked and scored in the first, reached on an error, rather significant error in the second inning by the shortstop Wilkerson that allowed a run to score. Rangers have just 3 hits, one of them a home run by Hara in the first. That's how they scored their only run. A little blooper right side coming in. Sierra, he's got it, makes the play and forgot there was a runner at third and didn't throw to the plate until he already scored. And he would have had a chance to stop him. As a matter of fact, he would not have scored, Norm, if Sierra had gone right to the plate. But what caught his eye was the runner at first. He saw Boggs way off the bag, and he took a look to see if there was any way to double him and forgot the runner at third. Here you'll see it.
And he's beside himself. Ruben knows he made a mistake here. And see, he looks at the runner at first, you're very right, and then he says, oh my goodness, I forgot the runner at third. And by then it's much, much too late.
So it's an RBI for Barrett, the second out of the inning. Sacrifice fly.
By the way, in case you're wondering about the California game, we haven't given you an update because there have been no more runs scored. It's bottom fifth. Yankees hitting against Mike Witt. It's still 2-0 California.
Billy Buckner, who singled and hit a fly ball to center. It is 2 trips to the plate, 1 for 2. 2 runs in the inning, 5 runs in the game, all off line, 4 of them earned. 1 ball and no strikes. Well, a couple of runs have been tainted, and there's a little blooper left side as Wilkerson, I think he's going to have time, no problem. And Wilkerson makes the play. But a run scores on a mental error, and another run scores on a legitimate base hit. 2 runs score in the inning, and it's 5-1. Red Sox lead the Rangers as the Rangers come up in the 4th with Incaviglia, Ward, and Sierra on HSE.
After this homestand, the Rangers will head to Chicago, then to Boston. When they return to Arlington Stadium Friday, September 5th, they'll face the defending world champion Kansas City Royals, a team the Rangers had trouble with last week at Royal Stadium. HSE will televise 2 of that series. Originally, we were only going to televise 1, but when ABC picked up last night's Red Sox game from us, we got a chance to put 1 more game on our schedule, so we have picked up the Saturday night game September 6th and the Sunday game of the 7th. That's the Royals and Rangers next month on HSE. By the way, make one more plan. If the Rangers hang in this pennant race, you realize their last 7 home games of the season. Last week they play home exclusively. We've got them all on HSE.
I won't add what Bob said, but they'll all be here. Well, let's put it this way. They'll all be here. You'll see them somewhere.
Right. You'll see them somewhere.
On TV. Pete Incaviglia is leading things off here in the 4th inning. He struck out in the 1st. Boy, it's been a long time since he batted. And there's a strike. This game has been a slow-moving affair, primarily because the Red Sox have either threatened or actually carried out their threat in all but 1 inning. And the Rangers don't seem like they've been at the plate very much. 1 ball and 1 strike. Incaviglia is only 5 out of 33 in his last 9 games with just 1 RBI. He's still looking for 1 more RBI to equal the club rookie record. 1 and 2.
Tell you what, the book lately on Incaviglia, and he'll catch up to him. Becoming a major league hitter is a question of adjusting. When you adjust, then they try to find another hole in your swing. Then if they do, then you've got to move to close that. The deal on Incaviglia is show him the bad fastball, give him the breaking ball off the outside corner when you have 2 strikes. Let's see if that's what the Red Sox do with it. Breaking ball off the outside corner.
Staying with the same pattern. In fact, you've not seen in this game, in his 2 at-bats, anything on the inside half or in on the plate. Now, normally, the adjustment that he would then make is that he would start looking outside, and then they have to start coming back inside a little. Break some bats in his hands. They're staying away, and that one's fouled off, out of play.
Yeah, another breaking ball off the outside corner. They just feed Pete that pitch, and until he proves he can hit that ball, he's going to keep seeing it.
Then once he proves he can hit that ball, then they do come back inside on him and jam him. It's a never-ending struggle to get the upper hand between the pitcher and the hitter.
See if we can tell what Gedman's going to call here. Breaking ball. Look to be outside and down.
Breaking ball, and got him on the outside corner. So Incaviglia is called out on strikes, and he is a strikeout victim for the 2nd time. That's the 4th strikeout. 1, 2, 3, 4th strikeout, I believe, for Oil Can.
By the way, Incaviglia now has moved up to 144 strikeouts in the season. That's only 11 short of the all-time club record of Jeff Burroughs. He may get that in August still.
Gary Ward, who singled in the 2nd inning, in fact, led off the 2nd with a single up the middle. Sierra then singled, but that's all that happened. They both ended up on 2nd and 3rd, respectively, but were unable to score as the next 3 hitters were retired. Bouncing ball foul. You know those strikeouts, though, Norm, when you strike out like he did, nobody on base, no real clutch situation, that's one thing. But Pete has been pretty good at, for most of the season, making contact when he's had key situations in ball games.
You know, and Greg, you don't mind a guy striking out a lot if that's part of his game. Now, when your Scott Fletcher starts striking out a lot, then you really worry. You know, when Pete O'Brien starts striking out an awful lot, you worry because they're much more of a contact type player.
1-2 pitch, fouled away. And this is a contact player here, Gary War, as evidenced by his .314 batting average.
Well, you know, a couple of years ago, remember that big strong boy in Minnesota, Gary Gaetti, had hit 20, 22, 24 homers, and people said, Gary, shorten your swing a little bit, make more contact, and you'll hit for a lot higher average. He did. He hit 5 homers. Next year, Gary said, baloney with this stuff.
I think the best advice you can give a hitter is basically hit the ball where it's pitched, but don't really alter your swing that much. Don't necessarily try to, and a swing and a miss on that pitch, a breaking ball. Ward is the second strikeout victim in a row. That's the second time now that Oil Can has been able to strike out successive hitters. He did it in the first when he got O'Brien and Incaviglia, and now here in the fourth with Incaviglia and Ward.
You know what's too bad about Dennis Boyd is that his recent troubles and the tantrum and the suspension have given people a perception of him that really isn't true. I think a lot of people whisper drugs. That's why he asked for drug tests. They say, gee, isn't he crazy? He's a wild man. He's a weirdo. He's just an incredibly intense competitor. And sometimes the intensity of his competition, Greg, just eats him up.
He attended Jackson State University for a while. His coach there was Scipio Spinks. There's an old major league pitcher. Taught him a thing or two.
Yeah, he once pitched a game as a kid, around 15, 16 years old, Legion type ball. He had the game in his pocket. He was just sailing along, and then he gave up a home run in the last inning. And he felt so badly. He took the uniform off, left it at the field, went out in the field and sat down and cried, would not go home with his teammates, and walked home. It was 20 miles. That's the type of player he is, though. He's just an incredible competitor, maybe almost too much at times.
And that one's low to Sierra. 1 ball and 2 strikes, says Oil Can, trying to go for a perfect 3 strikeout inning.
He went to the White House and he got an autographed picture from the president, and his quote about it was, about Reagan signing the picture, quote, he wanted to sign it to the can, but they're pretty conservative at the White House.
2 balls and 2 strikes to Sierra. Breaking ball got him, and the can has closed the lid. 3 straight strikeouts here as Incaviglia, Ward, and Sierra go down on strikes. The Rangers continue to lead, their trail rather, by a score of 5-1. As we go to the 5th, it'll be Rice, Baylor, and Evans for the Red Sox. You're watching it on Home Sports Entertainment.
This telecast is authorized under rates granted to Home Sports Entertainment and is intended solely for the non-commercial use of our viewing audience. Any rebroadcast or other use of this telecast without the express written consent of Home Sports Entertainment is prohibited. Announcers for this telecast are selected and are employed by Home Sports Entertainment. Greg Lucas isn't going to be selected or employed much longer by Home Sports Entertainment. He's headed for Indiana to be the Pacers play-by-play man this NBA season. But right now he's back to call the top of the 5th with the Red Sox cruising ahead 5-1.
And I got to keep my record alive here. We got to have a rally because I'm 5-0 up here this year. Norm.
Yeah, you've done 5 games for us, and the Rangers have not been beaten.
So it's rally time. Put the caps on. It's a little early. We got plenty of time here as Don Slott throws the ball back to his big hurler, Jim Rice, on the at the plate. Jim's 1 for 2. Jim singled in the first, 1 for 1 officially, I should say. Single in the first, was hit by a pitch in the third. 2 balls and no strikes. Again, Loynd already starting to struggle with that control, and now it's ball 3.
It's a bad sign for Mike to struggle with his control because he's a control pitcher.
He's had that problem the whole game. He's getting behind on the counts, and of course he went all the way behind on this one. Ball 4 in a row to Rice. And I would have to think that that will be instant action in the bullpen. I think that's what's going to happen. We've got some shuffling down there.
Tom Robson's up.
Don Baylor will be up now at the plate.
I'll tell you what, I believe as reward for hitting the home run last night, they're not making Gino warm up the pitcher tonight.
Well, it's all it takes. Be a hero and you can have the night off.
Rangers have switched warm-up men.
Jeff Russell is down there now, the right-hander. Although it looks like they're going to get they may be going to get a second one up. Nope, just the guard. Just the bullpen guards to make sure that no one is hit with a line foul. All right, runner at first base, Rice takes a lead as Baylor takes a pitch low. 1 ball and no strikes. No strikes yet thrown in this inning for Floyd. That's Russell.
Don Baylor now has been hit 27 times this season. That's the all-time American League record already. I mean, we're in August, and he's already set the all-time American League record. Whose record did he break, Greg?
I would guess 1 or 2 people. I'll say Minnie Minoso. I was going to say Frank Robinson or Minnie Minoso. It's neither one of them, right?
He broke Don Baylor's record.
Oh, wow.
He got hit 24 times last year. That's an unenviable record.
Trick question. Baylor slams the ball foul. 1 ball and 2 strikes. That was almost too hard to handle by the ball boy. He's getting booed by some of the fans down there. He bobbled. 1 ball and 2 strikes. We talk about Loin's control. He's actually only walked 3 hitters. He's hit 1. And there's a foul ball. He's got a chance to redeem himself and makes the play. All right.
Well, see, Greg, the problem is they got the left-handed kid playing down the left field line. They should have the left-hander down the right field line where the glove's toward the field side. He's just playing out of position.
Better tell him about that. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Rice down at first. Here's the pitch to Baylor. Fooled him with a breaking ball, and Baylor has struck out 3 times. Well, Baylor has been slumping, as we pointed out at the beginning of the game, but not really this badly. 3 strikeouts of Baylor. Armas struck out, and that's it. 4 strikeouts for Loin, and 3 of them have been Don Baylor.
There go the judge.
He's going to be on trial in the Kangaroo Court.
Yes, he is. Don's the head of the Boston Kangaroo Court.
Dwight Evans, the right fielder, hit a ground ball to short and popped to third. He's 0 for 2. Rangers, of course, play for the double play. They'd like that ball on the ground. And they're going to get a long drive, deep left field, racing back to the wall. It's gone. They're playing it off the top of the wall, but it's a home run. And Evans, with his 19th home run of the year, his 81st and 82nd RBIs, make it 7-1 Red Sox. This is, without a doubt, the toughest outing that Mike Loin has had, and it, without a doubt, I think, is over because Bobby Valentine is coming out to the mound.
Yeah, and the lead grows and grows. You know, there's another guy that I don't know if Dwight Evans is ever going to get his due for what a fine player he is. Jeff Russell comes in. Evans is just a solid player. There isn't really anything he does poorly, is there, Greg?
Good defensive player, great arm. Well, I guess he doesn't run very well, but that's you know, we're splitting hairs there because he's such a good solid hitter and a good defensive player, and with that great arm.
Terrific power, wonderful on-base percentage because he draws loads of walks every year. In fact, he's, I think, 3rd in the American League in walks this year behind Boggs.
There you see the Loin line. He conceivably could have gotten away with maybe 6 runs and 5 earned, but even with a couple of mental mistakes that Sierra made and the actual physical error by the shortstop Wilkerson, he had a tough day. But he'll have more of those. All pitchers do. But the good chance that he's going to have a lot more good ones throughout his career.
This is without question the worst outing for Mike Loin as a Texas Ranger. We told you earlier he'd never given up more than 4 earned runs in a game in his first 6 starts. But the Red Sox nail him in this one.
6 earned. And there's Jeff Russell, 5-2 with a 4.32. He was involved in the last game that Loyne pitched, and it was Russell who was very ineffective. Loyne left the game with a 5-run lead and ended up losing it. Russell did not get the loss. Mahorchik did, but Russell was the one who was on the mound when things started going bad.
Jeff Russell's pitched very well for Texas in middle inning relief this year. When he first came up, was hit hard. Then he put a string of very, very good performances together. Has been a little soft lately, but he is 5-2. He's made 26 appearances and pitched 58 innings. So Russell's given you 2 or 3 innings every out. That's the mark of a long man. He's allowed only 55 hits, walked 28, and struck out 35. He's allowed 10 home runs in 58 1/3 innings.
And he's another one of these guys that was born and raised in what may be the single baseball capital of America, Cincinnati, Ohio. It's amazing for a northern cold weather city, the number of Major League Baseball players that have come out of Cincinnati. And he, of course, was acquired from the Cincinnati Reds, as a matter of fact, as part of the Buddy Bell deal. Not very old, only 24 on opening day. In fact, his birthday will be coming up in just about a week, next Tuesday. First bat he's going to face is center fielder Tony Armas, who's 1 for 2, and now he bounces the ball backhanded by Wilkerson. He's up, the throw, 1 hop. Nope, can't be handled by O'Brien, but the runner at second base may be cut down as he tries to stretch it, and he doesn't make it. O'Brien played that ball off the wall like a rebounder in a basketball game, and he made a fine throw down to second. Armas, we just have to wait and see what they call on this. They may have to give the error to the shortstop because the throw to first bounced. It was a great play. Nope, they're going to give him a hit. Now let's see if he had a chance. Well, I'd give him a hit. It was such a great play, and that's what they did. They gave him a hit, then of course he was thrown out trying to stretch it into a double.
Now, had he made it, Wilkerson would have gotten an error
on the throw, right,
for allowing him to take second base.
Ball fouled away. Well, that was a good play. It was a somewhat questionable decision by Armas. The box seat railing here is not all that far from the line, so Pete O'Brien didn't have to go that far, and he made a great throw. No balls and 2 strikes, 2 outs. So Russell gives up a hit but gets an out. And now he has a 1 ball and 2 strike count on Rich Gedman, who has a double and scored a run, 1 for 2.
The one thing the bad throw there does, Wilkerson does not get an assist on that play. Armas is out simply 3-4. Oh, hello.
Bang. Hello, goodbye as Gedman is retired. Well, Russell gave up a hit and a line drive, but he got 2 outs, and so the inning is over. But in the 5th, 2 runs on 3 hits, no errors, and nobody left on base. We'll go to the bottom of the 5th inning now. The game is nearing the halfway mark, and the Rangers are ready to start their half with Slaught, Buechele, and Wilkerson on HSE.
The 5th annual 5-mile Steve Macko run has been scheduled for Saturday. Registration is $9. Late registration is $11. The race begins and ends at Arlington Stadium. Proceeds benefit the Steve Macko Scholarship Fund. For more information, call the Rangers promotion office at Metro 273-5200. We go to the bottom of the 5th. The Rangers in a big hole, down 6 to the can. We go back to Greg Lucas.
We've had some changes defensively for Boston, probably because, and I'm guessing that Armas may have, well, no, Armas was thrown out. I'm not sure why they did this, but they're in center field. You've got Henderson, and Armas goes to right. It is Evans that is out. He sure didn't pull a muscle running out his home run.
No. Dewey Evans hits a homer and takes the night off. By the way, did I say 273-5222 is the Rangers office for the Steve Macko run. 273-5222.
Here's Slaught. He takes it for a strike. There's the scoreboard.
Remember you used to say it was early? It's late in New York. And Danny Darwin, making his first start, has fallen behind tonight. The Cubs have a run in the top of the 2nd and are still hitting. That is Ed Lynch on the mound for the Cubs.
But I'll say it again. That one's early.
That one's early.
Okay. 1 ball and 1 strike. Slaught popped up his first time to the plate. asked you, Norm, before the game. I said if you've ever asked him about this uniform stuff, where he wears the one long sleeve and then none on the right arm. The rule book says you can't do that. Apparently, Billy Martin, no longer in the league, no one's being a stickler for it. His throwing arm is the one that is left open as he swings and misses, as that's one away.
Anybody going to hit Boyd?
Well, that's 4 strikeouts in a row.
And 7 on the night? He got 7 for Dennis Boyd?
Yeah, and on top of that, he's now retired 8 straight. He's really getting in the groove, and boy, what an advantage that would give the Red Sox if he got back into the groove that he had at the beginning of the season.
Well, he's been pounded hard since he came back from the suspension. In 26 innings approaching tonight's game, he'd given up 15 earned runs. Boy, he's got it working now.
Most all pitches, too. There was the fastball on the inside corner. He's been getting the breaking ball away, the slider. There he just cut the outside corner. He's had that outstanding control. Look how pumped he is, too. He's getting more and more pumped as this game goes on.
Well, he said he got his pitching philosophy from Satchel Paige. And he said, this is his quote, "Satchel told me, throw peas at their knees and high riders under their chins. Throw it when they're looking here, throw it to here when they're looking there."
Good advice. You just got to carry it out. That's the hard part. But he's determined tonight. Fouled away. Well, the Red Sox, with Boyd being on, if he's on, and of course Clemens, 2 starters that dominant, or potentially that dominant.
Well, and the rest of the rotation isn't exactly lunch meat either. Bruce Hurst, Tom Seaver, they deserve a uniform. And Al Nipper, who hasn't been very good lately, is a pretty good pitcher to have as your number 5 man.
That pitch is up a little bit. Isn't it ironic, though, the Red Sox that for years were built strictly as a power-hitting type ball club in Fenway Park, if in fact they do win the East this year, it really will be their pitching that's responsible. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Bouncing ball, foul. Pass Boggs. Breathing heavy out there. We're just told from the folks in the back that Boyd is well ahead of his normal strikeout average per game. Owen, scoop by Buckner for the out, 2 away. Well, that ended the strikeout string, but not the retirement string. That's 11 straight. He averages about 4.5 strikeouts a game. Of course, with 7 through 4 2/3, he's well ahead of that. The heat can be a factor. It started at about 95 degrees, and it's 92 now, and here it's 820. So, you know, Oil Can doesn't have a whole lot of extra weight that he can go around losing on a hot night. He might just disappear.
Well, there's 2 sides to that, though. He ain't going to lose much weight sweating it off either, is he?
That's right. No balls and a strike as the hat pops off. Infield plays Curtis Wilkerson straight away, fairly shallow. Curtis came up in the 2nd inning with a chance to drive in some runs. He had runners at 2nd and 3rd and 2 outs, and Oil Can struck him out. This is only his 2nd at bat in the game.
Tells you something about how few people Boyd has faced in 5 innings. It takes 15 outs to get through 5 innings, and this is just the 18th hitter he's faced.
Yep, he's only had 3 base runners, 3 hits. Walked nobody, hit no one, no errors. There's a base hit. Well, the timing of baseball, again, is demonstrated there. You can hit 500, which is what Curtis has done in this game. But if you get that 1 hit when the runner's in scoring position, it makes a big difference.
This base hit by Curtis Wilkerson just nicked the lid of the can here. And as Boyd got his glove up, but didn't quite get it. Look at, he's upset about it. Watch. Boyd says, golly, I should have got that one.
So he's got to face the leadoff man, Odabe McDowell, with 2 outs. Odabe hit a fly ball to center and popped to short. Breaking ball, off speed for a strike.
Amongst the other things Dennis Boyd can do with the ball, he's got a fastball that runs back. It has a screwball type action, and he also has a screwball, so he can throw a left-hand hitter 2 pitches that have screwball effect.
Wilkerson going on the hit and run, but the ball is foul. Well, McDowell hit the ball well, but he got around on it too much, and so Curtis will have to go back. Rangers are trailing at 7-1, but again, it may seem like it should be late, but it isn't. It's 22 after 8, but it's been a relatively slow start, and we're only in the bottom of the 5th, so there's plenty of time, and you get a run here and a run there at this stage of the game, and that's all right. It's still a little early, in other words, to be playing for the big inning, even though you're down by 6. Fly ball, deep center field. Going back for it is Henderson. He'll make the play, and that retires the side. So Henderson gets his first chance, flawlessly fields it, and that retires the club in the 5th inning. The Rangers in the 5th had a hit and 1 man left on base, and we'll go to the 6th inning. 7-1. It's the Red Sox over the Rangers with Spike Owen, Wade Boggs, and Marty Barrett to hit on HSE. Ranger guests appearing on our pregame show receive a handsome Seiko or Longines watch from Gordon's Jewelers, where love is in the air. 7-1. Red Sox lead the Rangers. We're in the 6th, the top of, and it's Spike Owen, the shortstop. Spike has a base hit, a stolen base, a run scored, and an RBI, and he takes a strike. Jeff Russell on the mound.
You know, Spike's a real good baseball nickname, but it isn't a nickname for this guy. He was named, that's his birth certificate name, Spike D. Owens.
No balls, and now it's 1 ball and 1 strike.
Owen. Spike D. Owen.
Well, he looks like a Spike. They were pretty perceptive, his family. Bouncing ball to the their second baseman, and Hara will make the play. 1 away. Top of the batting order now, Wade Boggs. Wade 1 out of 2. He bounced to short, doubled, scored a run, drove in a run, and walked.
You know, there are so many outrageous statistics about Wade Boggs. There's a cult all its own that has grown up around Wade Boggs to see who can come up with the most unusual Wade Boggs statistic of all the sabermetricians. Here are some of the nominees, Greg. What's your favorite? In 635 at-bats last year, popped out to an infielder in fair territory once.
Well, he drives the ball deep left center field here. That's over the head of McDowell and off the wall, and Wade Boggs will have his second double of the ball game, and he makes it look so easy.
How about swung and missed at the first pitch last year once?
You got to be a real stats guy to keep track of that.
You have to be a freak to keep track of this type of stuff. But a hitter this good, people keep track of things like that these days.
That pitch that he hit was not a real good pitch. Russell has had some trouble. He got Owen on the bouncing ball, but he got Armas after he had an infield hit and then tried to stretch it, and Gedman lined out. Owen bounced out, and then Boggs hit the ball hard, and that ball's bounced out to the second baseman by Barrett, and it's out number 2. So Barrett is retired. Hara to O'Brien. Moving over to third is Wade Boggs. You know, I was looking back because Wade Boggs was in the Eastern League, one of the 2 years that I broadcast games in the Eastern League. He was human then, and he had only 325. No home runs. He got superhuman, really, to tell you the truth, in the major leagues. He's been a better hitter in the major leagues than he was in the minors, and that's not saying he was a bad hitter in the minors, because he had 332, 311, 325, 306. But his major league career average of 351 indicates what I'm saying.
Here's one of the crop of terrific young Dodgers a few years back that broke into the major leagues all at once. The Yeager, Ferguson, Russell, Lopes, Buckner, Valentine group.
Garvey. In fact, Buckner and Paciorek was in there too. Garvey was really the third baseman originally, and Buckner was the first baseman, and then they switched Garvey over and they put Buckner in left. Of course, Lopes was an outfielder. They made him an infielder. Russell was an outfielder. They made him an infielder. But they all could play. 2 balls and no strikes. And they've all lasted. They have all withstood the test of time. Even those that are retired now were in the league for a long time, like Ferguson. That's inside. 3 balls and no strike with the runner at third and 2 outs. Jim Rice is next.
Buckner's getting that point in his career. He's been here so long. He's starting to compile some marvelous numbers. He passed 1,000 RBIs for his career this year. He passed 150 homers.
There's a strike.
He's 13 runs short of scoring 1,000 runs in his career.
Just a guy you can put in the lineup, and you know he's going to play 100%.
He's nearing 200 stolen bases.
And he's on with a base on balls. Yeah, that was kind of a... I don't really want to walk you because Rice is next, but on the other hand, we're talking percentages again. So Rice is up with runners at first and third, 2 outs. Rice is 1 for 1 officially. He has been hit by a pitch and walked.
It's a tough lineup to play percentages in, isn't it?
Yeah, because Rice hits right-handed pitchers as well as anything. It's just that it's a very slight percentage. But if Russell keeps getting behind on the count, and that's been the Ranger problem in this whole game. In fact, actually all season, they've had a lot of strikeouts. The pitching staff struck out a lot of people, but their walk totals are very high in the league. And that also indicates control, which can mean not hitting the plate where you want to hit it either. Foul back.
Well, they lead the big leagues in walks.
They're high in strikeouts, but that's what you have when you have a young team. You're going to strike them out and walk them. 1 ball and 1 strike. That's inside. 2 balls and a strike. Jeff Russell, who was out on the mound, was a regular starter for Cincinnati a couple of years ago. That's a foul back into the crowd. Hard hit. In 1984, Jeff was 6-18 for the Reds with a 4.26 earned run average. Remember, 84, the Reds were really bad. They were last place team. 4.26 for a last place team is not all that bad. He had 30 starts and then fell on disfavor the next year. 2 balls and 2 strikes. In fact, 85, he started the year in the minors and played the whole year in the minors until the Rangers finally brought him up after he was part of the Buddy Bell deal. 3 balls and 2 strikes, 2 outs. And a swing and a miss as he really fooled Rice on a bad pitch. So that retires the side in the 6th. The Rangers keep the Red Sox off the scoreboard. They've only been able to do that in 2 innings so far tonight. No runs on 1 hit. No errors. 2 men left on base. We'll go to the bottom of the 6th inning with Hara, O'Brien, and Incaviglia due up for the Rangers on Home Sports Entertainment.
Let's go to your American League scoreboard. No change in New York. Mike Witt carries on into the 8th inning. The Detroit-Oakland game, I think, is being held up by rain in the 2nd inning with Andujar ahead of Jack Morris, 1-0. Cleveland has had a reliever come on in the 8th inning. They lead 6-3 with Toronto hitting the 8th. Kansas City got some runs for Charlie Lebrand early, and they lead the White Sox 5-1. Minnesota, Milwaukee deadlocked in the 4th. Later on, it's Ken Dixon and Mike Moore, the pitchers, hooking up Baltimore at Seattle. Here, it's 7-1 Boston. We go bottom 6, and the Rangers haven't been able to dent the can.
Not at all. I'll tell you, you can't beat fun here at Arlington Stadium. Of course, if you want to go to horse racing, you got to go over to Louisiana, but come on out here for dot racing some night. They have it every time the Rangers play, citing dot racing on the big scoreboard. Another reason to be at the old ballpark. 1 ball and no strikes to Toby here. I think Green won today.
Green won today.
Yeah. 2 balls and no strikes to Toby Hara.
Red leads the overall standings this season.
They do have the overall.
Red has 15 wins, Green 14. I've got the odds on it, Greg, if you'd like. Yellow is a +2.5 for tomorrow night.
3 balls and no strikes to Hara. Well, get him on base with a base on balls, and the Rangers can start something. Who invented that, I wonder? I hope those of you that are home in the area that have been out here to the ballpark know of what we speak, but they put it on the scoreboard, and it's awfully hard to explain.
Someone whose Crayola box and total IQ were virtually the same number. But it's fun. It goes over big here. The crowd has a great time. Tell you what, the Rangers have added a bunch of things to this ballpark, and it's an entertaining place. Not the least of which is a ball club.
It all starts with the ball club. And at first base after the base on balls is Hara. That the first slight dent in the can. Boy, we got all these can jokes because it's the first walk that he's given up. Here it is. This is dot racing.
They do 3 laps around that thing, and then they post the results of who won the dot race.
And you miss it if you're not here because we have to go to commercial. We cannot show you that live.
Now, if somebody wants to sponsor the dot race, we'd like you to know that we're open to that.
That's right.
We can flash your message subliminally during the race.
There's Pete O'Brien as he takes a strike. The crowd trying to get the wave going. No balls and a strike.
They're finally doing it during the Rangers inning, though. That's nice, except I'm sure the hitter doesn't like the wave to be going on in the outfield as he's hitting.
Stay tuned because later on in the game, Norm will tell you about adventures in high-speed auto driving. That's all coming up later, so be with us.
Oh.
Yeah. Norm had an adventure today. There's a ball. 1 ball and 1 strike.
We each had a couple of adventures. You had a 5.5 layover starting at 2 in the morning at the airport?
Yes, I did.
It's nice, Greg.
Have you ever slept in the back of a Chevette?
Airports are such exciting places at 2 in the morning.
1 ball and 1 strike as O'Brien drives it high and deep, but not deep enough to right center field. It's actually the right fielder's ball, but Henderson, the center fielder, had it all the way, and he'll take charge and make the play. 1 away. Norm on his way home from his morning radio outing at here in Dallas-Fort Worth. Had a little excitement.
Got attacked by an 18-wheeler. It took the right side, and the inside rail of the median took the left side of the car.
And he didn't even know he hit you.
Didn't even know he hit.
Till later, after Norm chased him 5 miles. Anyway, it's exciting. Pete Incaviglia up now with a runner at first base. Toby Hara, 1 out. Pete has struck out twice. 2 1/3 times now. No balls and a strike.
You know, another thing pitchers are trying hard to do with Incaviglia is make sure they get ahead of them. Because when he gets behind, the pitcher gets behind, his assortment is reduced. He can't work on Incaviglia with the outside breaking stuff.
There he came inside on him, but he missed.
But that's the pattern, Greg. They've been throwing those breaking balls, then they'll waste the fastball down and in. They figure if Incaviglia wants to hit a down and in fastball, he's free to chase it. Now the pattern's been to come back outside with something breaking. No.
There, fouled back away. The big thing is that they're trying to keep him, well, any hitter you try to keep off stride, but a hitter like Pete who has a big, long swing and a big stride, he's really a tempting target.
Now, typically, again, if they go back to the old pattern, and you have to worry that if you hang with a pattern too long, the hitter's going to recognize it. The pattern here is to come back with something that breaks off the outside corner.
1-2 pitch. Breaking ball got him. That's 3 strikeouts in a row as Incaviglia is retired for out number 2.
And, you know, it's easy for us to sit up here. Golly, it's easy. I can't hit a curveball with a boat oar. It's easy to sit up here and say that's the pattern. But going down there against a terrific pitcher like Dennis Boyd, that's another matter.
Well, it works 2 ways, too. The pitcher has to make the pitch, and Dennis has been making the pitches. And if he misses with one of those, Pete will hit it. But he has made them all. That's the kind of game Boyd has been pitching tonight. Ward bounces the ball up the middle, deflected, picked up by Owen. He tags the bag, and that retires the side. So again, it was another relatively easy inning after a leadoff walk to Hara, a 1-2-3 following that. And we'll go to the 7th inning as the Rangers again fail to score and continue to trail 7-1. Coming up, Baylor, Evans, And make that Baylor and Henderson on Armas on HSE.
Tickets for exciting Texas Rangers baseball are available at any Rainbow Ticketmaster outlet or at the Rangers ticket office. For more information, call Metro 273-5100.
Here's a look at upcoming Texas Ranger home games. Friday through Sunday, September 5th through the 7th, the Kansas City Royals are in town. We'll televise at HSE the Saturday and Sunday night games. Tuesday and Wednesday, September 9th and 10th, the Mariners are in town, and both of those games will be on HSE. Sunday, the 21st, is our only telecast of the 3-game series that starts on Friday the 19th involving the Minnesota Twins. That's Ranger baseball at Arlington Stadium. Right now, the Rangers go to the top of the 7th, and they've gone to another bullpen pitcher. Looks like everybody's going to get an inning tonight just to stay sharp.
Mitch Williams is in. There you see his numbers. He's had a good year. Of course, that's been really the high point consistently of the Rangers season has been the work of the bullpen. And a strike to Don Baylor, who is very happy not to see starting pitcher Mike Loynd. He was the only guy that had no luck at all. He struck out 3 times. And he drives the ball deep, and that's out of here. That fast, it's out of here. Is that a strong man or not? That ball was just bang and gone. The 25th home run for Baylor. And it's his 76th RBI. And again, that's his 18th home run in this ballpark.
And his 27th all-time. That puts him alone in second place now to Reggie. Hey, he may catch Reggie, because Don's got some years left in this league. You're right. He just crushed that puppy.
Dave Henderson, who came over with Spike Owen in that trade with the Seattle Mariners, wasn't playing really at all there after Bradley came back. And now, of course, he's not playing a lot with the Red Sox, but he's playing on a winner. He's not a starter, but he's playing a lot more. He's a key player. There it is. Look at that. Bang, it's gone.
Ouch. You know, I don't think a lot of people, Greg, understand what a good player Dave Henderson is to pick up for the Red Sox. This is not just some hang around the bench and play once in a while. Uh-oh.
The bat goes farther than the ball. Bouchel makes the play. The bat splintered. The whole barrel came off and went flying over the pitcher's head. Out near second base. Hitter is retired. Now the bat is being retrieved, or what's left of it.
That's bad wood right there. Could be a part of somebody's fence.
Looked like he hit it on the fat part of the bat, too. He didn't hit it on the handle. It just sliced right off.
The tree was probably sick when they cut it down.
Probably my yard. All of mine are dying. Here's Tony Armas, the center fielder. Tony struck out, singled, and also singled. He's got 2 singles and 3 trips. Scored a run. Moved over to right field after starting in center. Fouls it back to the screen. 8-1 the score. Boston leads it. They have led all the way, really. They led in the first inning 1-0. Then the Rangers tied in the bottom of the first on Toby Harrah's homer. Then Boston got 2 in the top of the second and have not looked back. High fly ball right side, curling toward the stands, and it will reach the stands. Big hitters in the ballgame, big RBI people. Dwight Evans has 2 on a 2-run homer. Baylor has a solo homer. You may have heard in the background what Norm told you before as far as the Baylor home run feats against the Rangers. Bouncing ball out to Harrah. 2 away. 2 down. Rangers, of course, coming into this one having won 4 in a row, and Boston coming in having lost 3 straight. Well, all things do come to an end. Of course, Boston, a very strong baseball team, and the Rangers at 66 and 59, likewise strong. Story in baseball is, though, it's tough to win a lot of games in succession. You just have to keep winning 3 out of 4 and 4 out of 5 and 5 out of 7, and do that, you're in first place. High pop fly, foul, back into the crowd. Don Slaught, who has come back from that beating at the hands of Oil Can Boyd the last time he faced Oil Can back early in the season. Strike call. Gedman, the hitter, is 1 for 3. He doubled in the 4th. That's outside. Until last year, Gedman had been platooned against left-handed pitching. Last year, he started playing against everyone. There's that wide open stance Norm pointed out earlier, and he'll try to step toward the ball. That time he kind of flinched, but it stayed inside.
Well, you got to wonder how he hits the ball. Look where he sets up with his wrist. Now, his wrists are over home plate. They're actually behind home plate. But his stride takes them out of the strike zone and makes it possible to get the fat part of the bat through the strike zone.
Reds lead Pittsburgh 3-2 in the 8th. That game is the nearest to finishing in the National League. There's a strikeout. And we'll take a look at all the National League scores after we take a break. 1 run in the 7th inning, 1 hit, no errors, none left. And we'll go to the bottom of the 7th. The fans will be up on their feet trying to get the Rangers rallying. Sierra, Slaught, and Buechele coming up, trailing 8-1 on HSE.
Those aren't the Andrews sisters, but here are the National League scores. That run that the Cubs got early off Danny Darwin is standing up. Oh, we start with Cincinnati-Pittsburgh, where the Reds lead top 8 over Pittsburgh. Well, the Reds have put on a little run. They're over 500. They've moved into a tie for 2nd place. The Cubs lead Houston in the 4th. Atlanta trails the Cardinals. That is Jim Acker and Greg Matthews, the pitching matchup there. Elsewhere in the National League tonight, it'll be the Mets at San Diego, Philadelphia at Los Angeles, and Montreal at San Francisco. Last night in LA, in case you didn't get the late score, Fernando Valenzuela got his 16th. That makes him the NL's leading winner.
He may finally win 20, and the Dodgers might end up last. We were talking about that before. If, in fact, the Astros would win in the West and the Dodgers would finish last, Lasorda's comment about renting first place would go right up there with the old nice guy. Oh no, the old are the Dodgers still in the league quotes that we've had in past years. There's a bouncing ball picked up by Buckner, and the Boyd man comes over and covers. One away. Sierra retired.
It's getting very late in New York, Greg.
Great pitching, obviously.
Yeah. Oh, Mike Witt's just doing it again for California. He'll be 15-7 if he wins that, and making a late rush for the Cy Young.
That's the one thing I think the Rangers have to be concerned with, the fact that the Angels have been getting great pitching here, and that's right when they need it, because they've got a lot of games with the East. And while the Eastern teams are considered by many to be by and large stronger, if your pitching is tough, that evens things up pretty good, pretty quickly.
It's been an uneventful night in the Boyd-Slaught matchup so far.
Breaking ball in on the hands for a strike. Well, a pop-up and a strikeout. No balls and 2 strikes. Outside corner just misses. 1-2. Oilcan has had outstanding control tonight, and there's been the real contrast. He and starting pitcher Mike Loynd. Mike did not have good control, either in or out of the strike zone. That stays upstairs, and it's 1 ball and 2 strikes. Oilcan has gotten by with a minimum number of pitches. He's gotten the Rangers to hit his pitch. Not very many balls hit hard at all. And another strikeout.
You talked earlier about how Boston never had really won with pitching. To put the Clemens performance this season in some perspective, Greg, last year Oilcan Boyd won 15 games for the Red Sox. That was the most games won by a Red Sox pitcher in the 80s. And already Clemens has won 19 games this season. And there's every possibility that Boyd will surpass his 12 wins of last season, or his 15 wins of last season.
And he was out, as we've pointed out, for quite a while mid-season when he left the club. He has 9 strikeouts, and just checking his career best coming into this season, 12 was the most that he had struck out in a game. We're in the 7th, so he'd have to push it a little bit. Bouncing ball to short. There's a perfect example of the nature of keeping the hitters off stride, and Buechele is retired easily, and that's a 1-2-3 inning for Oilcan, as we'll go to the top of the 8th inning. It is Boston 8-10-0, 1-4 and 1 for the Rangers. Owen, Boggs, and Barrett for Boston on Home Sports Entertainment.
We're downright ecstatic here at HSE to be able to bring you 2 pennant contenders in one summer. Rangers are having a terrific season, but so are the Astros, who float 8 games ahead of the National League West. Here's our schedule of upcoming Astro games. Friday and Saturday at 7:30, plus Sunday delayed at 7 o'clock, the Astros against the Pirates. Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, same-day coverage of the Astros and Cubs from Wrigley Field. Friday, September 5th, the St. Louis Cardinals and the Astros. National League Baseball here on HSE, involving the team that looks like it's going to win the West, the Houston Astros.
Played solid baseball all year, and no one has mounted a charge. In fact, they have been the hot team by and large over the last month, and they've just played good, solid baseball. Bouncing ball, well, line drive, doesn't come down at all as Owen hits the ball hard, and it's handled by Wilkerson for out number 1. Greg Harris is in to throw.
Yeah, it is. It's everybody gets an inning night at the ballpark.
Wouldn't tonight have been a nice night, though, for him to come in and pitch left-handed? I mean, they're down 8-1. Maybe that's not enough yet. You got to have a game that's more of a blowout. But I still think that we got to see him pitch left-handed sometime. There's a strike. Wade Boggs is at the plate. Wade has 2 doubles, a bounce out, 2 for 3, a walk, a run scored, an RBI.
Average night.
Yep. 1 ball and 1 strike. Let's see. When I was on vacation in the Washington area, we saw the Red Sox play Baltimore, and he had 4 hits. he just always gets hits. There's a strike.
Here's another one of those stats for you, okay? Last year he reached base 340 times. That's base hits, walks, hit by pitch. He is the 37th man to reach base 300 times in a season.
Aha, he was fooled. And Harris gets to the bag in time to retire him, and that is out number 2.
It's the second time Wade Boggs has reached base 300 times in a season last year, as O'Brien and Harris combine on a nifty little play here, getting Boggs at first. You realize, again, Greg, to talk about the class he's in, that there are only a handful of players who have ever reached 300 times in one season, 3 times, and they're all in the Hall of Fame. Musial, Fox, Mantle, Gehrig, Tris Speaker, Rogers, Hornsby.
Every one of those a solid and long-time Hall of Famer.
And there's one other active who's done it 3 times, Pete Rose, and you get a feeling they're dusting off his spot.
Maybe quicker than he had anticipated before the season began. I think there's a lot of talk that this will be the year he hangs it up, but he's not going to make any big announcements. There's a strike. He doesn't want people to make a big deal out of this. Might be his last time around the league, and he may quietly retire during the winter.
Well, there'll be time to give Pete his day in Houston, day in Chicago, day in Los Angeles as a manager the next year.
He'll be coming in next year, just honoring for what he did before. 2 balls and a strike, fouled away. Well, there's another case. You know, you talked about the Reds. They've been playing well. Now they're up to a 4-2 lead in the 8th inning over Pittsburgh. They've been playing well, but those wins in April are awfully important, and they didn't have enough of them, and now they're, you know, maybe a little late for them.
Well, you get the feeling they're going to make one more big last run. A win tonight, and they lead 4-2 in Pittsburgh, would put them up two games over 500. If somehow the Cubs should hang on to that lead and beat Houston tonight, it would narrow the lead to 7, and 7's within reach heading for September.
Just ask Gene Mauch, the old manager of the Philadelphia Phillies. High pop-up on the infield. Wilkerson calls. And the shortstop will make the play, and it's an easy 1-2-3 inning. A rarity tonight. As a matter of fact, the first one that the Red Sox have had. As we wait till the 8th inning before they have one. And we'll go to the bottom of the 8th inning with the score 8-1. Boston leads the Rangers. The Rangers coming with Wilkerson, McDowell, and Hara on HSE.
Some of our guests received dinner for 2 at Conrad's Restaurant. Compliments of the Arlington Hilton. Join them for a fantastic Sunday champagne brunch for only $12.95. That's the Arlington Hilton, just across the highway from Arlington Stadium at 2401 East Lamar. Or call Metro 640-3320 for more information. We go to the bottom of the 8th, and the Cans cruising.
That he is. He has had, he's only given up 1 hit since the 2nd inning. And that was a single in the 5th inning by the man that's batting right now, Curtis Wilkerson.
You don't get a hit. At least give me a foul ball, okay?
Concert following the game. Amy Grant will be performing for the crowd on hand. That's the reason our game tonight started a little bit early. Concerts have been a very successful promotion. There's a swing and a miss. By the way, speaking of promotions, Norm, you know Frank Layton, how funny he is, the coach of the Utah Jazz in the NBA. The Indiana Pacers, as you also know, the last few years have been very promotion conscious. And I was meeting with him a few days ago as Wilkerson takes the ball outside. And I said, hey, how about this? When Utah comes to town, have a post-game concert, comedian Frank Layton. They said, hey, that's not a bad idea. I don't know if Frank could go for it, especially if they lose. There's a foul down into the crowd, but Frank, as you know, is every bit as good as about any professional comedian that is around.
Throughout the game, we've given you a little canology, some of the tidbits of and sayings of Dennis Boyd. Got another one for you after this this pitch.
1 ball and 2 strikes. Little bouncer. Relatively easy play by Barrett. 1 away.
Earlier this year, there was a game in Cleveland fogged out. Now you gotta understand your geology and where Cleveland is in America. Okay, right there on Lake Erie. Okay, the fog came in.
I think it's not geology.
Okay, your geography. Okay, the fog came in. They waited an hour and 45 minutes and canceled the game. And right after the game, Boyd had the answer. He said, "quote, when you build a stadium on the ocean, you can expect games to be fogged out."
There's a bouncing ball back to Boyd, and he retired. He went to Jackson State. Okay, now that's 1 away. 2 away. 2 up, 2 down, and Toby Harrah, who touched Boyd for the only run of the game, a home run in the 1st. Since then, he's bounced to 3rd and walked. Who was it that we read not long ago? I'm not sure it was a baseball player or football player. Here's a baseball player. Was flying over Lake Michigan and thought it was the Mediterranean. Who was that? Do you remember?
Thought it was the Mediterranean?
That's what he said. I wish I had the name, but maybe better that I don't. 1 ball and no strikes. That was in, I read that somewhere. Newspaper. Swing and a miss. Harrah fooled on the breaking ball. 8-1 the score. The Rangers have been looking uphill all night. Nothing has changed. Needless to say, the winning streak is in jeopardy, but you can start another one next game. And that will be tomorrow night. Bouncing ball to Boggs at 3rd. And Oil Can Boyd retires them in succession in the 8th. And he's just keeping the Rangers off stride. 1, 2, 3 as we go to the top of the 9th. As the Red Sox hold on to that 8-1 lead, and they'll come up with Buckner, Rice, and Baylor. You're watching it all on Home Sports Entertainment.
The 1986 edition of the Texas Rangers souvenir program is on sale at Arlington Stadium or by mail. Each edition of the program includes rosters and statistics, plus profiles on all your favorite Texas players. There are some interesting features included. They're available at Arlington Stadium for $1.50, or you can receive a copy by sending $2.50 to Souvenir Program, Texas Rangers, Box 1111, Arlington, Texas 76010. Not many souvenirs in this one for the Rangers. 8-1. We go to the top of the 9th. Here's Greg Lucas.
Just 1 on the home run by Toby Harrah, and that is the story in the scoring. Bill Buckner is leading off here in the 9th, facing Harris, who's working his 2nd inning in relief. Mike Loynd stands to be the losing pitcher, and Oil Can Boyd, without a doubt, stands to be the winner. He's gone 8 strong innings, allowing just the 1 run. And that's on the corner for a strike. Buckner has a single, a fly ball, a pop-up, and a walk. Home runs tonight, Don Baylor and Dwight Evans, a 2-run homer for the Red Sox, and a solo shot by Harrah. Fouled back into the crowd. Hard shot, bounced off a couple of folks.
Billy Buck's got his own little cheering section here tonight. Somebody's got a Billy Buck sign they've hung over the railing in left field.
One lady caught that foul ball on the side of the head, as a matter of fact.
There's about 12 bullet holes in that sign or something.
to allow the wind to filter through. 2 balls and 2 strikes.
Perhaps buckshot.
When it's 8-1, you have to do something, don't you?
That's true.
There's a little blooper that'll be falling foul and out of play. Buechele goes all the way over to the side.
You know, have you noticed how Ranger fans haven't quite caught on to the fight for foul balls that they do at other stadiums? Some stadiums it gets awfully rowdy when one goes back into the seats, and here nobody dove for that ball or anything. They can't find it. They don't know where it is. There we are. All right.
He didn't want anybody to know. He didn't work up a sweat going after foul balls.
No, he's the one guy in the group that can read the label.
3 balls and 2 strikes to Buckner, leading off with Rice on deck. Bill Buckner. Bouncing ball, right side, can't get to it. Hara watches it go through for a base hit. Buckner with his 2nd base hit of the night, bringing up Rice. Jim Rice was overshadowed. Remember in the series that the Red Sox played the Cincinnati Reds, Rice didn't play. He was injured. And that was a 7-game series, so it's not certainly inconceivable that that whole World Series could have gone a different way. Last year he had some injury problems. Stapleton will go in and run for Buckner, as is quite often the case late in the game. Buckner with the ankle problems, these chronic ankle problem. Breaking ball for a strike to Rice. He was the Red Sox first pick in the 1971 June draft. All-around athlete. 10 letters in baseball, football, basketball, and track. And is a scratch golfer. Great driving power. And he does it with the baseball. This time, just a little group fly to center. 2 away, or 1 away, make that. Just a second hitter. Buckner back to first, or rather Stapleton, the pinch runner, back to first. It'll bring up Don Baylor. Baylor struck out 3 times against Mike Lloyd and then was so relieved to see a different pitcher that he banged Jeff Russell for a home run. That might fall. It will. Base hit. 2nd hit. Stapleton comes over to 3rd. The throw behind him is just a little bit off target. And Stapleton goes into 3rd base on the base hit by Baylor. Let me correct one thing. That home run was not off Russell. It was off Williams. Just so if Jeff is happening to watch the replay of this, he doesn't get incensed. You didn't give it up. But it went on the scoreboard. It's 8-1. The Red Sox lead it, and they are threatening once again with 1 out. Runners at 1st and 3rd here in the 9th. And Henderson is at the plate. Dave came in as a replacement and bounced to 3rd in his 1 trip to the plate. 1 ball and no strikes.
Again, this is the guy we were talking about, that a lot of people don't realize how good a player Dave Henderson is. He's had at least 14 homers, 5 straight years now in the big leagues. He has a tremendous throwing arm, excellent throwing arm, amongst the leaders in assists.
There's a long drive around the foul pole, foul. Oh boy, he hit that one all the way, but it was too much. You know, it is easy to get lost. You hate to say that, but unless you play on the West Coast, probably in LA, you can get lost real easily because of the time differences and the West Coast games not making it. You can have a tremendous game, 4 hits and 5 at-bats, but if it's a night game in Seattle, most of America won't know about it unless they hear it on the radio the next morning, because that's their only chance. It isn't going to make the papers, and by evening, you're reporting what happened today already. Whoa, the bat went into left field. Buechele had to dodge it. A strikeout.
Well, yep, goodbye, Dave Henderson. You know, he's the all-time home run leader in the history of Seattle, Dave Henderson. Didn't look at there, but...
Well, he's famous for throwing his bat, as a matter of fact. He's reading something about him once before. It comes out of the hand a lot, Dave Henderson. Here's Tony Armas. A reminder that following our telecast here, we'll be joining the Houston Astros game in progress following our post-game show. That game got underway an hour later than our game. And then, of course, this game will be shown also in its entirety for those of you that just tuned in and want to catch up on some of the action that you missed on the full network. It'll be on later. Slot comes back behind the plate. Does he have room? Nope, not quite.
By the way, that game, the Astros now have tied it.
1-1 in the 5th. Well, Danny Darwin, an old long-time Ranger pitcher, acquired making his first start. He made a relief appearance and was effective, not allowing any runs. This is his first start, and he is that 5th starting pitcher that the Astros were looking for to push him over the top. Strike 3 call. The breaking ball in tight. And Armas is called out on strike. 2 strikeouts in a row as we get set for the bottom of the 9th. 2 runners left on base on a couple of hits. And the Rangers have one last chance to put a 7 or 8 run inning together. Pete O'Brien, Pete Incaviglia, and Ward, Sierra, Slot, Buechele. See, we're going to put it together. It's coming up next on HSE. Eight to 1 the score. The Red Sox lead the Rangers as we go to the bottom of the 9th. 29,011 crowd tonight. Stapleton is staying in the game and playing first base for Boston. And Oil Can Boyd is looking for a complete game. He has had 6 of them this year.
Well, I wonder why managers don't do a lot more resting in situations like this. You know, you get the feeling that regular catcher Richie Gedman could use an inning or 2 off, and you know, Boggs maybe could use a rest. And Rice, whose knees have been sore at times in his career, he probably wouldn't mind going in and sitting in the clubhouse and sipping on a light beer.
You know what it is? I think almost superstition as much as anything. There's a lot of superstition in baseball. They don't want to make it look like they think the game is in the bag. It's the old thing, you don't box up the bats. They're ahead now 8 to 1. You don't box up the bats. You just don't do that, because as soon as you do, you're going to blame it on boxing up the bats or putting the equipment away.
You know, they must not think this one's over. They got their 2 bullpen aces up and throwing.
See, it's what I say. It's not over.
You wouldn't think at this stage of the year Stanley and Sambito were just dying to throw a few more pitches, would you?
Pete O'Brien takes a strike. Of course, now the Can, no doubt, is a little tired, or a lot tired. But he's going to try to get through it and get the complete game. No balls and a strike to Pete. Pete is 0 for 3. 1-1. O'Brien has hit safely in 8 of his last 9. And it'll be 8 of his last 10 as he hits one deep to center, but not deep enough. Crowd got excited because the center fielder Henderson went racing back to the warning track, but he really didn't have to run that fast. He was just trying to get directly under the ball so he could turn around and wait for it. Here's Pete Incaviglia. Pete has struck out 3 times. The last 2 times he's been called out on strikes, as Oil Can has used his variety of pitches to keep Pete totally off stride. Pete's been in a hitting slump. He is 5 for his last 36 now. That's over the last 10 games. 1 RBI. No balls and a strike.
Not to belabor the point, but let's see if the pattern stays the same, Greg. Okay, the pattern has been now to waste a fastball in this situation.
Breaking ball, but he got it outside, and it's a strike.
I guess in the 9th inning, ahead 7, you don't waste a lot of pitches. Now, the pattern has been, when you get ahead, now go to the breaking ball and try to keep it away from Incaviglia.
I think he'll stay away from him. I think that in this case, he'll try to hit the corner on the outside, and if he misses, he'll come back and try to hit the corner on the outside. I don't think he'll try to get too cute with an occasional inside pitch. There it is outside, but it's a fastball, and he throws it past him.
Well, you know, again, in this situation, you may not go to your critical pattern to get him out. Here's where you may want to violate the pattern. Watch Boyd after this. You think he's pumped?
Yeah. Chalk him up. Yeah. 2 outs now. That 4 strikeouts tied a club record that is held by many. That's interesting. I would have thought that somewhere along the line someone might have struck out 5 times in a game, but obviously that has not happened with the Rangers. 1 ball and no strikes. Bouncing ball, backhanded by Owen, turns, throws in. That's the ball game. Owen ends it with a sparkling play as Oil Can Boyd picks up his 7th complete game, his 13th win. He goes 13-9. The Red Sox hold off everybody else that might be challenging them in the East. And meanwhile, the Rangers lose a game to the California Angels in the standings in the West. Final score, 8 runs, 12 hits, no errors, 1 run, 4 hits, and 1 error for the Rangers. Boyd the winner, Loyne the loser, 29,000. We'll be back with some final thoughts in a moment on Home Sports Entertainment. Greg Lucas back along with Norm Hitzges. And Norm, 8-1 final score. If there's one good thing about it is the fact that in a couple of mistakes the Rangers made, the fact that Loyne didn't have a great game might not have made any difference because Oil Can Boyd was so strong tonight.
Yeah, he struggled a little bit early, but boy, when he got out of that second inning mess, first and second, nobody out, did he ever cruise from there on. Realized that from the 3rd inning through the 9th, Oil Can Boyd allowed a walk and a single that he almost caught. The ball that Wilkerson nipped off his glove.
He was totally in charge, and of course if he gets back on track, then all those other people in the East with Clemens and Boyd, that 2 starting pitchers as strong as they can be, that might be all it will take. The executive producer of Home Sports Entertainment is Jack Stanfield. Senior producer Ed Frazier. Coverage of tonight's game was produced by Robert Steinfeld. Directed by Dave Burchett. Technical director Kevin Spivey. Engineer in charge Fred Sylvester. Statistician Kurt Dykert. And graphics coordinator Jim Feldman. Remote facilities provided by John Crow Productions, Dallas, Houston, and Kansas City. Remember to be with us tomorrow night at 7:30 as the Rangers once again play host to the Boston Red Sox. Again, the final score of tonight's game, the Red Sox 8, the Rangers 1. Stay tuned. Texas Ranger post-game show is coming up next on HSE.
You have been watching Texas Rangers Baseball. This premium presentation has been brought to you by Dallas-Fort Worth Chrysler Plymouth Dealers. We don't want to be the biggest, just the best. And by Bud Light, the light beer with a first name in taste. Everything else is just a light. Tonight's Major League game was an exclusive presentation of Home Sports Entertainment, the Southwest's regional sports network.
To 1 the final score again tonight. Boston over the Texas Rangers, 8-12-0, 1-4-1 for the Red Sox. Greg Lucas back with Norm Hitzges. Norm, the Red Sox are a team now that a lot of people in Boston are very pessimistic about their chances because of the history of the Boston Red Sox franchise. But you still have to like it with the pitching that they can throw at you, especially in the American League, which is not blessed with a lot of pitching.
And especially the way the real contenders to the Red Sox keep backing up themselves. The Yankees don't look like they're putting together any run, and Detroit looks like theirs has leveled off. Toronto's making a little move, but they're hooked up in extra innings with the Indians tonight. No one's making a move. Baltimore's pitching hasn't settled in, and with Boyd returning to form, with that pitching staff, you're right. This is a pretty good-looking baseball team.
As for the Rangers, it's a loss. They lose a game in the standings, but there's still quite a bit of time left, and they're certainly within range, only 4 games back. Norm's going to take a look at the scores around the American and National League after we take a break on the post-game show. That's coming up next in just a moment on HSE. Our Rangers player of the game receives a gift from Sterling Jewelry. Sterling Jewelry does more for your world in our world.